expose and dispel some of the doubts, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in today's podcast. Marhaban bikum.
From the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ is that he foretold these matters, the way that we would follow the Jews and Christians. They went extreme in regards to their leaders and their Sālihin.
Anyone who did not take a position against Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, they said, did we not say that these individuals are misguided?
Whoever digs a hole for his brother falls in it.
By any means necessary, we cannot allow Salafi events to have a makana. We have to remain on top.
Subhanallah, how is it that you judge? I am going to leave off the likes of Shaykh Sālih Suhaimi, the likes of Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, and the likes of these mountains in fiqh and aqeedah for your mashayikh, masakeen.
And they started warning against going there because they're saying some hizbis are attending Shaykh Sulaiman's Dawah.
Hizbis are in need of it.
Munafiqeen were in the guidance of the Prophet. The biggest deceptions that the Western Salafis were deceived with.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban bikum, ikhwani wa akhawati fillah, to this podcast. Inshallah, hopefully clarifying some doubts and issues surrounding the da'wah of Salafiyyah, the pristine methodology of قال الله قال الرسول وقال الصحابة على فهم السلف الصالح. Allah said, the Prophet said, upon the methodology of the Salaf al-Salih from the companions and the early generations, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he praised in a hadith, the well-known hadith to all of us, خير الناس قرني ثم الذين يلونهم ثم الذين يلونهم, that the best of mankind is my generation, and those that come after them, and those that come after them. We see many people causing confusion and doubts around the da'wah of Salafiyyah, this blessed da'wah. So inshallah today I have on my left Ustādh Abu Sālih Ilyas, Hafidhullah Ta'ala wa wafaqah, and my brother Ustādh Abu Ammār Mubārak, Hafidhullah Ta'ala wa wafaqah, to discuss and inshallah expose and dispel some of the doubts, inshallah, that the people who ascribe to this blessed methodology of Salafiyyah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, in today's podcast. Marhaban bikum. Barakallahu feek. Ilyas.
Hi, barak feek. We'll begin by first discussing the matter of being involved in fitna. As we hear many times, that every time that a clarification comes out by anyone who wishes to clarify and separate from the true Salafiyyah that we learn from our ulama, we learn from the Salaf, that anyone who wishes to show the people the correct methodology, that they say this individual is busy with fitna. And so first and foremost, before we even begin, so that it is not said that everything we mentioned was nothing but fitna, we must clarify first and foremost, what is fitna? What is fitna? When is something to be considered fitna? Because that word is used nowadays incorrectly. That many of the shabab or many of the common Muslims, they believe that any clarification, any refutation, any correction of violations with regards to the Salafi manhaj is fitna. So if it's not opening a book of fiqh or opening a book of tafsir, anything outside of that, they now have this understanding of fitna. And in reality, I believe that this isn't by accident. That due to the ghulu and the extremism that we've seen by some who ascribe to the Salafi methodology, it has pushed many Salafis to the other extreme, which is At-Tibyan. And you find not only from the common folk, but even some who have spent time studying, being, Allahu Musta'an, now following the ways of At-Tibyan, and even cultivating the students that are around them. Don't busy yourself with this is fitna. And so now the young shabab have now, adopted this idea that any sort of clarification is fitna. And in reality, if we look at it, that when you are silent from these things, we still see the youth being affected by these things, learning principles that are incorrect. Many times them coming to you, what is this about, and what is that about, and what is this doubt, and why are they saying this, and why are they saying that? And that is because they don't have anyone to clarify to them, since everyone is claiming that this is nothing but fitna. In reality, fitna is that which causes confusion. Clarification can never be described as fitna. Fitna is when the individual is being busy with that which is causing confusion and misguidance. So those who are clarifying that confusion and repelling and deflecting that confusion from the Muslims should not be considered one who is a fatan or causing fitna. Rather, the ones who are doing it and perpetrating it, they're the ones in reality that are the people of fitna, and those who are clarifying that which they have done in terms of damaging this pristine and blessed da'wah, those are not the ones that should be referred to as fattaneen and the like. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Ustad Ilyas. Inshallah, just a quick question posed to my brother and Ustad Mubārak. What is the correct way of dealing with fitna, first and foremost, between the mashayikh, for example? If two mashayikh differ in a particular hukum ruling in regards to the disparagement or the praise of an individual, and also what do you advise in regards to busying small students of knowledge and new brothers that are new to the da'wah of Salafiyyah with this, pressuring them to take mawaqif?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, amma ba'd. Awalan barakallahu feekum jami'an. I thank Allah first and foremost. All praise is due to Allah Azza wa Jal. Thaniyan, I thank my our dear brothers Abu Sālih, Ilyas, and also Abu Abdulhakeem, Sulub, hafidhahum Allah. If we were to just elaborate on the question or answer the question that you've asked me, in terms of confusing those who are new in the da'wah, or even the general folk of matters that are above them, that this itself is a means of confusion, as our dear brother Abu Sālih mentioned, that these matters that confuse the youth or the general folk or the dulab that are sighar, that these matters are matters of fitna, and that they cannot comprehend certain matters. So mentioning these matters to them and forcing them to take a stance is khilaf al-hikmah, and is not permissible for a person who claims to be a da'i to cause, or especially when we're in the West, in these places we are in, where people are fighting with ilhad, the Ahlul Bid'ah, Ikhwaniyah, Hizbiyah, we're fighting with Shubah and the Kuffar, and we have so many enemies in regards to, we have so much that Muslims are surrounded by enemies, and that you confusing the youth that have started to practice and are in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided from the lands where, alhamdulillah, that Allah has chosen them in these lands. And you know that we are all aware of this situation is not of any hikmah whatsoever, especially when the mashayikh are mashayikh of Ahlul Sunnah. I'm not talking about when a mashayikh of Ahlul Sunnah refutes a mubtadi', that is clear. And we warn the students, but with wisdom. Likewise, if the student is new in the da'wah, that you take its means and you do it with wisdom and hikmah. Allahu A'lam.
I'd like to add to that, inshallah ta'ala, unless you have something to mention.
No,
Allah yabarak fik. What we witness, jazakallah khair, our brother Mubārak mentioned, which is correct as it pertains to when we have fitan between mashayikh that are from Ahl Sunnah, that is not what people should be busying the youth with, or the new Salafis, or younger students who do not comprehend these matters. But why do we see those who have been involved in da'wah for many years constantly doing this? That is what we have to ask ourselves. The ulama constantly advise with exactly what our brother Mubārak just mentioned. However, we see time and time again, with every fitna that occurs, the same individuals are the ones pushing the agenda. And what is the agenda? Why would you believe that it is from wisdom to pick up a microphone when elders are there, people who've never heard of Mashaykh, and start screaming, you are this and you are that, and Muhammad bin Hadi is this and Muhammad bin Hadi is that?
Friday khutbahs.
Yeah, Friday khutbahs. People making dua and salah and sunnah, praying nawafil. And this individual believes that this is from hikmah. And this is what the da'iyah ilallah is supposed to be doing. Why do they do such a thing? And the answer is that this is the desperation. How else do you keep people with you? When your da'wah is drowning and people have now understood what you have been doing and they've caught on to what you've been doing for years and years, oppressing other Salafis and warning against other Salafis unjustly, etc. When the majority and many of the Salafis have now become accustomed to your way, now, even though the ulama don't advise with this, you need anyone you can get. You need any follower that you can get. And that is because these individuals do not cultivate students. They don't have students. They have atba'. And this is an advice that one of the mashayikh gave myself and some other Canadian students in Medina some years back, which one of the advices that he mentioned to us was to make sure that you cultivate those who take from you, and when you go back and give da'wah, to cultivate them upon being your students and not your followers. The student will take your knowledge from you and then he will go on his way. And if he differs with you, then he will differ with you. But if you cultivate that person who's taking knowledge from you upon following you, and that he must follow you because you're the one who said so, and because you're the one who knows, because you were involved in da'wah much longer than they've been, so therefore you're always right, and you're the elder, and we refer back to the elders, and back to the elders, and back to the elders, then these individuals will only learn ta'assub, being partisans, and being fanatics towards you, and they will never know that they even can oppose you, and they're too afraid to oppose you. That is not Salafiyyah at all. That is the exact tarbiyah of Ikhwan al-Muslimin. Clear Hizbiyah. It's the definition of Hizbiyah. And this is a misconception. The understanding of Hizbiyah that some individuals have is that a Salafi cannot fall into Hizbiyah. When they think of Hizbiyah, they see a Hizbi, one of the Mubtadi'ah. However, if an individual deviates, who claims to be Salafi and follows Salafiyyah, there are people who, if you don't pray at their masjid, then that means there's something wrong with you. Or they look at you funny. You haven't prayed, maybe you pray at the local masjid near your house. No, they want you to travel an hour to their masjid and pray Fajr at their masjid. And if you do not, then that is a alamat istifham, a question mark on you, your manhaj. Where have you been? If you're not around for a week or 2 weeks, they don't ask you, Akhi, what's been going on? Like in the time of the Sahaba, if someone was missing from the Jama'ah, they would be worried. They would ask about him. Where was he? How is he? Is he okay? Where have you been, Akhi? SubhanAllah. And as if they have attendance sheet. As if there's an attendance sheet. And the first attitude is an attitude of shak and doubt with regards to you. And so this tarbiyah of Hizbiyah, the misunderstanding that some Salafis have is that their so-called shaykh or student of knowledge or da'iyah cannot be an individual that is upon Hizbiyah or that has fallen into Hizbiyah. Hizbiyah does not know mubtadi' between the one who claims Salafiyah or anything. The action and the description of Salafiyah, we know it. Anyone who does that has fallen into Hizbiyah. And people also have this misconception that you can only be a Hizbi if you blind follow or have ta'assub towards or give precedence over to the statements of a mubtadi' or another Hizbi over the haqq. No, you can fall into Hizbiyah by giving precedence to an alim from Ahl Sunnah over the haqq. It doesn't have to be a mubtadi'. And that is a misconception. That is why you find Shaykh Rabi' said, how can you oppose Shaykh Rabi'? That's Hizbiyah, akhi. What do you mean? That's ta'assub tul mashayikh. There's no blame on the Shaykh himself, but your action of giving taqdeem to his qawl, his statement, or his ra'yi, his opinion, or his position or his jarh on an individual that is not either founded on evidence, or that he's been either lied to or deceived, or whatever the case is, and after bahth you find that out, for you to give precedence over the haqq, you give precedence to the statement of that scholar, whether he's an alim from Ahl Sunnah, whether it is, why now do we blame the Ashab al-Madahib, Ahnaf, Malikiya, wherever it may be, Shafi'iyya, the Hanabila, if they give precedence to a statement of that Imam, right? And when they have a clear-cut hadith here and they give precedence to the statement of that Imam, we say that these are madhabis, that this is hizbiyya. Like this is Imam Ahmed from Ahl Sunnah. Why can't that exist today with any scholar from Ahl Sunnah?
Question that needs to be answered.
Nah. Why can that apply to any scholar from Ahl Sunnah? So that I just wanted to highlight that misconception that many Salafis, Allah al-Musta'an, fall into. Nah.
Just want to add on to what dear brother Abu Sālih mentioned, and the beauty of Islam. Wallahi, when you really and truly look deep into the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you study the books of Tawheed, these matters are mentioned in it. And from these matters, or from the miracles of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that he foretold these matters, that there will be people that will follow the Jews and the Christians in their mistakes. And from the mistakes and from the misguidance of the Jews and the Christians is they went extreme in regards to their leaders and their Sālihin. And there's a whole bab in Kitab al-Tawheed, al-Ghulu fi Sālihin aw tahrim ma, and many chapters that is along that topic, or is close to that topic. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions in the famous hadith, لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سَنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ أو سُنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُم شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ حَتَّى وَلَوْ دَخَلُوا جُحْرَ ضَبٍّ لَدَخَلْتُمُوهُ. Even if the Jews and the Christians were to go into a lizard hole, it's not possible for a person to go into a lizard hole. But this is Mubārak. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam emphasizing on the extremism, or the way that we would follow the Jews and Christians. Shibran bishibr. So you see people claiming to be upon Salafiyyah and yet going extreme into ulama al-fadil. But as you've said, this doesn't decrease the ulama's degree, as it did not decrease the degree and the status of Isa alayhi salam, that the Christians went extreme in regards to him, and many other examples. Barakallahu feekum.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Just a quick ta'liq on what Ustādh Sālih mentioned, Hafidhullah Ta'ala Sālih mentioned, that we see from the tarbiyah of the mashayikh of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, like Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala. Shaykh Sālih Suhaimi mentions about him, Hafidhullah, that when he met Shaykh al-Albani on one occasion, this is after there was a munadharah, there was he had a kind of a discussion regarding Siyam Yawm al-Sabt with Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, Shaykh Sālih Suhaimi. And a few years later, he went back to the Shaykh and he held his hand and he saluted him and he gave him salam. And he said that I am Sālih Suhaimi, that I did not follow your qawl, and I did not blind follow your qawl in regards to fasting on the day of Saturday. And Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, from his tarbiyah was, he held onto the hand of Shaykh Sālih Suhaimi and he said that this is how we want our students to be. Not blind followers, but following the dalil of Quran and Sunnah, and that which the ma ajma alayhi as-Salaf, that which the Salaf agreed upon or had a consensus regarding. If you look at then how now the tarbiyah of the tulab, or the youngsters here that are connected to certain organizations that ascribe themselves to Salafiyyah, is the complete opposite. Almost as if these students are now scared to fall out of line in regards to what Ustādh Fulan says or Allan says. And this is a musibah. And as you said, it goes back to a da'f in At-Tawheed and At-Tibyan. It all returns back to that issue. So that's just a small ta'liq inshallah in regards to that. Barakallahu feekum. What is the fitna of the Sa'afiqah? And can we have like a brief introduction as to what happened in regards to Shaykh al-Fadil Muhammad ibn Hadi al-Madkhali hafidhahullah ta'ala, and those of the mashayikh that the Shaykh refuted If you could, inshallah, introduce us to that, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and what happened prior to it, and is there any history in regards to it, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala?
So first and foremost, what we will do, because there is a doubt that was surrounding this term years ago, when Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, Hafidhahullah ta'ala wa ra'ah, when he used this term to describe a few students that were in al-Medina. And that is the term sa'afiqah or su'fuq, and what is meant by it. And from the doubts that we heard some of these individuals here in the West use, is that the term was intended as tabdi'. That the term was intended as tabdi'. And mashallah, no matter how many times the Shaykh used it in the context that he used it, other mashaykh other than him used it in the context that it's intended, and it's been used all the time. But these individuals who lie and have no shame to lie, when they know the reality of how it's being used, but they have no shame to lie, and because they know that the sheep that they are lying to are going to continue following them, and that they don't have a means to gain this correct understanding. So they lie to them and they put the wool over their eyes. The term su'fuq linguistically was referred to individuals who would not have capital in order to go into the marketplace. They didn't have the money, and so they would follow individuals who did have money, who had capital, and try to benefit from them, the sales that they were making, and try to benefit from them. So they were not people who had money to do business, but they would feign that they were, trying to mimic them and act as if they were and go in with them. Now, the reason the ulama use this term today, when in the realm of ilm, and the realm of the ulama, is they refer to those who feign as if they're ulama, but they are not really ulama. Those who are security guards at the doors of the ulama, telling you who can enter and who cannot enter, and they either hold the sheikh's hand and put him in his car and take him out, or when you're in their majalis, when you visit one of the mashaykh, they're the ones who are doing, and they go around giving everyone coffee and dates and things like that, and then out of nowhere they became the main students of Sheikh Rabi' somehow. This is how they flip the narratives. Individuals who reached that they were the closest ulama, the closest students to Sheikh Rabi', and those who benefited from him the most, etc. And the only connection between Sheikh Rabi' and that individual is that he's married to Sheikh Rabi's granddaughter. La ilm wa la shay. These are the individuals that they've convinced the West that they are the best and strongest students of Sheikh Rabi'. Now,
just to interject, and you were also obviously with Sheikh. I remember in 2014, I think it was, when one of the first times I visited Sheikh Rabi' when he was in Mecca. This is before he moved to Medina. He was there.
I was there.
So you're talking from experience. You actually were present, seeing things play unfold, and how things played out in regards to these people that actually weren't known to be talamid of Sheikh Rabi', for example. But then after the fitna arose, these people were put on a pedestal. Correct in saying that?
That is correct.
And what Allahumma barik, Brother Ilyas said it beautifully. Only when this fitna arrived, we started to hear of individuals that we've never heard of. Zentani, Zembani, أشخاص لم نسمع منهم من قبل. Names that they became mashayikh, and they started becoming in the bayanat, and all this fitna came. People that I know that were security guards at the door. People used to serve tea, like our dear brother said. Wallahi, it's a musibah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to open the eyes of the youth in regards to this.
Just continuing with that term, Sa'afiqah, so Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, Hafidhahullah ta'ala, when he used this wasf of these individuals, when they could find no other way but to try to claim that Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi was upon the way of the Haddadiyya now, and just wiping out a bunch of Salafi mashaykh out of nowhere, they had to say that he intends by the term Sa'afiqah, tabdi'. He believes they're innovators. Because now when you're bankrupt and you don't actually have a way to try to prove the misguidance of someone, you have to swing in the dark. You're hoping that you'll hit something. you know. And so they said that he intends by them that they are mubtadi'ah. طيب, since when have we known Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi to fear or shy away from calling someone a mubtadi', that he believes is an actual mubtadi'? Never. We've never known Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi to wiggle around and beat around the bush. Never. These same individuals who have now dropped him, they used to also know the same thing. Now, Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, in that well-known audio that went viral and went all over the place, when he spoke about a certain number of individuals, in there, in the beginning of that audio, the one, yani, Ana li Muhammad bin Hadi, it has come time for Muhammad bin Hadi to break his silence. In that audio, in the intro to that audio, that lecture or that talk, he says in there that basically he's introducing the fact that he's going to be speaking about certain people, because I guess he had enough of what they were doing behind the scenes, and he believed that the time to now warn against them by name has now arrived. Now, Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, at the beginning of that audio, this is to clarify how they've twisted the usage of that word and tried to claim that Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi intends that they're innovators. In the first few minutes of that audio, he says that, and we do not wish that we speak about our brothers in this way, but the need basically has arrived. Now, Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, does he call his brothers mubtadi'ah, his brothers? No. If he believes that they're innovators, why is he saying we do not wish that we would speak about our brothers in this way? Yani, that is clear evidence that in that audio that he does not intend that they're innovators, and he did not intend that they were innovators, but rather individuals who were causing corruption and evil all over the world. And so that is how he used that word. Anyone who says otherwise is just grasping at straws, and they know that they are lying, to the point where one of them one time came to Canada and was given a lecture and saying that this is, yani, claiming that, and he used some narration of one of the Salaf or something, using it regarding Mu'tazila. These individuals happen to be Mu'tazila. The word was not being used to say that they're Mu'tazila. It's not a muradif, and it's not a synonym for Mu'tazili. Since when have we ever seen the word su'fuq being used as a synonym for Mu'tazili? No. It's that the individual that it was used against happened to be Mu'tazili. So that when you know all of the definitions for the term, and then you try to grasp at that, that's how you know this is an individual of falsehood. And in that same audio, shamelessly, this individual tried to claim Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi has this ta'ali, and he believes he's above people, and that he has how would you say islawaynin, kibir and kibir. They said he has kibir. So they believe, that's what they say. 25 years that you've been dealing with the Shaykh, and he's always been wearing this bisht. They said that the bisht that Saudi mashayikh wear day and night has somehow now become kibir. Only from Muhammad bin Hadi, all the mashayikh wear it. Sheikh Rabi', wallahi, Jum'ah, I used to be with him every Jum'ah, he's wearing bisht.
That shows you the insaf of the Shaykh.
Exactly.
They're even most closest to him. If they make a mistake, that he's going to refute them as he refuted them.
Sahih.
That same individual that made the shameless video that you're talking about, and I'll mention his name, Abdulhakeem. Where is he now?
Sahih.
If there's so much clarity in their da'wah, where is Abdulhakeem? They've completely stopped him from giving da'wah. They've taken him out. They've taken him out of the committee in the masjid that he was in. They've stopped him from all types of da'wah. And where's their clarification?
And where's his da'wah?
And where's his da'wah? لكن عوقب Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says ولا يحيق المكر السيء إلا بأهله ولا يحيق المكر السيء إلا بأهله. Whoever digs a hole for his brother falls in it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees them. And da'wah Salafiyyah تنفي خبثها. It spits out it throws out its خبث.
الله الخبيث من الطيب.
هكذا.
صح. نعم أخي. So بارك الله فيك. In regards to the Sa'afiqa, we mentioned the linguistic term in the Arabic language, and that the Prophet, that Muhammad bin Hadi, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, did not mean by it tabdi'. Were there things prior to the Shaykh warning against these particular individuals? We'll mention their names inshallah. That kind of have is there a history behind this? And also the positions of these particular people that have dropped the Sheikh and speak ill of the Sheikh, was their history in regards to them also taking a position where they once sided with Muhammad bin Hadi and then also took the other side afterwards and changed their colors. Jazakumullah khairan.
No. So in reality, one of the biggest deceptions in this entire fitna is that it started when Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi warned against Arafat and Abdullah Juhani and those individuals, Abdul Wahid al-Madkhali, and that group that was causing fitna in Medina. From the biggest deceptions that the Western Salafis were deceived with is that's when it started. And unfortunately, it worked, this deception, because many of them are new to Salafiyyah. And so we're not around in the da'wah 5 years prior to that, 10 years prior to that, 15 years prior to that, to know who these individuals and these roles that are being played now in 2016, 17, 18, 19, these individuals that are involved in these fitan, what were their roles before? Were they even in existence? Did anyone even know them? Or what was happening in the West that proves the deception that these individuals were doing, which is that anyone who did not take a position against Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, they said, did we not say that these individuals are misguided? The fact of that is that they could not wait for a moment to drop these individuals that they had problems with all over the world. And this is not just in the West, but this is in every place where this fitna affected, whether in Africa, different places in Africa. In Somalia, it reached the Mashaykh, the ulama of Somal. Indonesia, Morocco, Mauritania, Sudan, you name it. Anywhere where there were Salafis, all over Europe, all over North America, where there was a split between those who ascribed to the Salafi da'wah. A split that existed before this fitna. And so these individuals just used this entire scenario as a ploy, as a plotting against individuals they wished they could get rid of for a long time. In America, it was Salafi Inc. and Sheikh Dawood Adib, Abu Yusuf Khalifa, Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Umaysan, Abu Yusuf Khalifa, Abu Abdul Salam Jiyani, brothers in Philly, in Masjid Ahl al-Hadith, in Troy, in Toronto, Troy, myself and other brothers, and even before me and after me. Everywhere you look, they had issues with these individuals. What was the issue? That you don't submit to them.
Not falling in line.
Yeah. You don't fall in line, that's it. He's out. From the first things that I would hear about myself over 10 years ago, before I ever even went to study, was he doesn't do ta'awun with the brothers. He's not with the brothers. He doesn't want to do this with the brothers. He doesn't. That was what he's an individual. So you want to be a hizbi? Yeah. He's individualistic, mashallah. So I have to conform to you for me to be Salafi. What is it? Individualistic. طيب. And then after that, he doesn't want to give the khutbah. He doesn't want to do this. He doesn't want to do that. طيب, maybe I believe I shouldn't do the khutbah. And then later on, حب الظهور, حب الرياسة. Yeah. And afterwards, now he wants fame. Now he's only speaking about his Salafi brothers because he wants fame. طيب, you were the one who wanted to push me, and when I refused, I wasn't working with the brothers.
They need to pick a choice.
Pick a choice. Either I want fame, and the one who wants fame, why would he refuse the khutbah?
Exactly.
I would start the khutbah before the time of Jum'ah. If I really wanted fame,
They're
right?
the one who wants fame.
Yeah, I would be on the mic waiting from Fajr to the Jum'ah. I can't wait to give the khutbah. That was the reality. رمتني بدايها ونصلت.
They are the ones, wallahi, once you analyze their situation, you will see the alamat
of wanting that.
tara'us
That's one.
and also dhuhur. They used to come to our masjid. Even now, certain matters click in our heads. When they used to come to Al-Basira, Abu Khadija, we used to bring them in Al-Basira, and the elders told us that they used to say, put us in the committee.
Yeah, see, they want to control.
In charge.
Yeah, see, look at that.
Even I've heard, Allahu Alam, that they would say to other masajid, you guys might become deviated, but as if they're guaranteed. These individuals are power hungry.
100%.
Power hungry.
I've also heard when we were opening up our bookshop in Bristol years back, and just for a quick history in regards to the Wada' in Bristol, the bookshop was opened by the mal and the tabarru'at of the people of Bristol. The women, the ladies, the men in the masjid al-Basira. When the naming of that bookshop was being decided, it was to be said that it's going to be named Salafi Bookstore.
I remember.
And then they were called, they said, we're going to name the bookshop Salafi Bookstore. And they said, la, the name Salafi
It's patented.
or Salafi Bookstore is patented and you can't use it.
Patented.
Yeah,
Patented, yeah.
Exactly. Subhanallah. Yani contracted, you cannot use it.
That's how really actually how that's literally
remember
that's their da'wah.
Yeah.
They want to patent the
Patent the
Yes.
da'wah has
Like to them.
monopolized.
They want to make it a hizb.
Yeah, it's a
Yes,
hizb.
Subhanallah.
It's a
Yani
hizb.
shuf, and then afterwards it was named Islam in Bristol. But yani, not to digress any in regards to that issue, but Subhanallah just shows you how these people, they throw these terms upon people that are not going to be falling in line, because it is exactly the same thing that they are falling into.
Allah Akbar.
حب الظهور, حب الترأس, all of this. And this is why they throw the likes of this to you and the likes of this to other brothers. I remember, subhanallah, a small طلاب علم in our masjid, we were having a Quran competition, and then after that there was 2 lectures in the masjid. Okay, and then this was put on Twitter. There's going to be a lecture by Fulan and Fulan.
I was one of them.
He was one of them, sah? And all the way from HQ in Birmingham, as our brother mentioned, all the way in Birmingham, a call was made. Who's Abu Ammār? Who is Abu Fulan?
It's the Dawah.
Yeah, subhanallah. Who is this?
It's the government.
Asking who are these? These are 2 small students of knowledge. Masakeen in the masjid.
This is 10 years ago as well.
Yes.
And likewise, this masjid is even underneath you as well.
Exactly.
So why are you even asking?
cares,
What is the maslaha in that?
Yeah.
Subhanallah. So
And
all of this
especially they abuse the youth here, because in Western culture, growing up in the kuffar country has an effect on everyone. It has, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from it.
In the culture, there's hizbiyah.
In the culture, there's his
Here, football fans, sports fans, athletes, celebrities worship.
Even these
You lift that
yeah.
from not practicing to being attached to these personalities, started practicing and just applied it to du'at.
exactly.
And to people of 2 types. Those who, once they start practicing, they fight with these characteristics and they learn the religion and they يتأدبون بأدب الدين, and then they become better. And those that have some attributes, and even you see those brothers in Asbabs, they want to, as if they want to westernize the da'wah. They want a Salafi Western UK da'wah. And it's just weird. This, when you look at it, you see stuff, you see they're off. And even I remember brothers that would come, that brothers who went to them and left them at the masjid, that they would even they used to say, when we see a Somali man or Somali sheikh speaking and announcing something, we used to cringe.
Yeah, you think it's a bid'ah is going to come out or something?
Yeah. And they'll say, just make everything English. The English language is
they made them hate themselves.
They made them hate themselves and hate their identity.
How many of them tried to destroy the da'wah back home because of one of them? One of them, here one time in a dars, he does not know Somali. He's not Somali. One of their du'at. He's given a lesson there. He's being asked about Shaykh Uthman Ma'lan. What can you say about Uthman Ma'lan? Can you even understand the language he's teaching in? يعني how the type of ghulu, or it's that whatever we say goes, even if it doesn't even make any sense.
That's why
it's like me warning against someone in Japan, giving da'wah in Japan. What can I possibly I don't even understand one word he says.
It's power. They just want they want to be in charge of everything.
That's it.
And when you look at it, that's why in the Muslim countries they're da'wah and they're not prevalent, and they don't have it's not effect. If you go back to Somalia, people will tell you get up, even a younger youth, because they've grown up in a Muslim country and they're brave.
They won't work.
They even try to deny that there are scholars, for example, in the subcontinent. Abu Khadij was asked, is there scholars in Pakistan and India?
The only kibar in the world, he said, is in the Mamlaka. One time. I remember that.
They tried to deny
he was in Staten Island. They go to Abdullah Bukhari goes there.
Trinidad?
No.
And Maldives.
Maldives. He was in Maldives when he said that.
Look at that.
He was asked that question.
And denying a whole continent or whole 2 massive countries of scholarship.
Well, Hassan al-Banna, rahimahullah. What was he? Older than Shaykh Rabi'. Almost 100 when he passed away. No kibar in the world. In the fitna of these guys, Sa'afiqah, you used Hassan al-Banna.
Why they say Shaykh Rabi'? Because he praised them.
That. And then now, why are they, any one of their followers today, say to them, why do you call Abu Khadija a Sheikh? Hassan al-Banna called him a Sheikh.
Look at that.
Every Sheikh, if I want to say that, every Sheikh calls you Sheikh. They don't know that this is the culture. This is any Sheikh. Someone who يعني has some door in ilm or da'wah or whatever the case is, Sheikh Fulan, because you're involved in ilm. You're not a computer teacher, you're not this and that. That's why. So it's part of the culture. It doesn't mean this person is an alim. It's not a synonym for alim. And they're the ones who used to wage war with that title before. For Umaysan, who's a doctor in the Jami'ah, who studied over 20 years, it was almost haram. If you call him Sheikh, haram. Now all of them are Sheikh. The phenomenon, the Sheikh phenomenon.
I can swear by Allah.
You did a maqta on that as well, yeah, mashallah.
Most of them can't read half a page without making lahan, without halakha. If we were to open one of these books and we were to test these brothers, that none of them will be able to recite the basic Arabic. And yet they want to take out the mashayikh and they want to be the sheikh.
When have we ever seen sheikh who cannot pray properly? That will give the khutbah and then go back in the rows and let someone else lead the salah. What sheikh in history? I want to know in history, not in our days. In the history of Islam, what kind of a sheikh is that? It's impossible. That's something mustahil.
Which
mustahil, wallahi.
Which Sheikh Fawzan Hafidhullah was asked about that particular issue. He said that عندنا خطيب في بريطانيا that he does the khutbah and then afterwards he has to let somebody else lead because he has issues in his qira'ah. And the Sheikh, he said, look for another khatib.
Yeah, صحيح.
He said, look for another khatib because the khutaba are many. He said.
Exactly, yeah. It doesn't have to be like that.
Those are proficient in the Quran and, subhanAllah. Quran, first and foremost, this is the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That every single student of knowledge, he starts with first. صح? You start from huruf al-hija and then you go onto the Quran. And then that's the first thing you're proficient with. And the actual salaf that they are ascribing to, that's exactly how they were.
That's how they were.
That they were not allowed to sit in the gatherings of hadith up until they were memorized. Sahih.
Absolutely. There's an individual, you've reminded me, because Abu Khadija, when we've seen him teaching, he says, I've been Dawah Salafiyyah 40 years, praising himself. You see this, how many students has he brought out?
That's what I'm saying.
How many mashayikh has he brought out? Those that follow him, his prodigies, that come to our city. There's one individual who comes to our city, and we're gonna put in his tape because I randomly I was shown his I saw his one kalima that he lecture that he gave
in Bristol.
Wallahi, he made, I think, was it 8 or 10 mistakes, around 8 to 10 mistakes, I think. Wallahi, he even the shahada, la ilaha illallah, he's able to say. And we're gonna put that clip on this and let the brothers listen. That's what. So look at وبثمارهم يعرفون.
That's what Sheikh al-Bani
That's what Sheikh al-Bani used to say. And this individual, you see, as the famous Arabs, they say, بأبي اقتدى عدي في الكرم ومن يشابه أبه فما ظلم. That Adi followed his father. He copied his father and he resembles his father. And whoever resembles their father has not done wrong. These individuals that come here and give khutbah and they're prodigies, that they want to leave off Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili. Want to leave all the mashayikh upon the sunnah everywhere else and follow these
major mashayikh.
And follow individuals that can't even recite the Quran. And it's the lahan that
لكم كيف تحكمون. Subhanallah. How is it that you judge? I am going to leave off the likes of Sheikh Sālih Suhaimi, the likes of Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, and the likes of these mountains in fiqh and aqeedah for your mashayikh, masakin. I can't even call them. This is an insult to the word sheikh.
It's an insult.
Wallah, it's an insult to the word sheikh, subhanallah, that you are not able to hatta recite Surah Al-Fatiha, al-Quran.
And the mistakes that they're making is not just mistakes that are okay.
They change the whole meaning.
They change the whole meaning.
They change the entire meaning.
I was listening to إذ جاء. He said إذ جاء إذا جاء. إذ is ظرف لما إذا is ظرف لما يستقبل من الزمان and إذ is ظرف لما يستقبل لما مضى من الزمان. And there's an ayah إني
أكاد أخفيها.
إن الساعة لآتية أو آتية ولا آتية. أكاد أخفيها. He removed أكاد is a فعل من أفعال المقاربة. He removes the whole fi'l and he says كأخفيها. أكاد أخفيها.
Even adding words, adding words.
But the scholars, they say those who do lahan, and the aqwal of the scholars of before, they would say whoever does lahan in the nusus, that it is feared for him to fall underneath the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Man kadhaba alayhi muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar."
Subhanallah.
If these brothers can't
Exactly.
let them stick to
Let them just do ikhtisar of reading the English translation of the ayah. That's aslam lak. Easier for you.
Second taslim.
Exactly. نعم. Exactly. So be have some honorability and nobility to, even if you're finding it difficult. And look, the person who finds the qira'ah difficult, okay, as a da'i, of course,
shouldn't be a da'i.
As a da'i, that's incorrect.
Yeah.
But as a student of knowledge, if you find qira'ah difficult, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that falahu ajran, that the person
you strive and you try.
The person who does lahan in regards to, and he tries, he has 2 rewards. That's a student of knowledge.
And he's trying his best.
Exactly.
But person is not allowed to teach anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's
or
the thing.
be presented as if
this
she's
the issue. Exactly. This is the issue. And sometimes, they say they bring like the statement of the Salaf that Imam Malik used to do lahan in Arabic in order to support their issues that in Arabic language. If you're not proficient in the Quran first and foremost, Kalamullah, then everything else after is going to be musibah. Subhanallah. So we kind of strayed inshallah.
The mas'ala of the tashayyukh, this sheikh, when everyone became sheikh all at once, that is the thing that shows you the misguidance in this. There's a timing that's connected to this. This did not occur because of some knowledge. Now, I spoke about this previously in one of my in a talk that I did, but to show that this is a plotting and a scheming, this now raising one another to the level of sheikh is not by accident. After they've dropped almost all of the ulama in the world, all the Salaf ulama that we know of, almost you do not find them taking from them, referring to them, doing any ta'awun with them, visiting them when they go to the mamlaka, none of that anymore.
They will sell their books.
Yeah, they'll sell their books though. They'll sell their books. Their money, make money from them. Now they don't, they do not. What was it? They do not. They disconnected from the ulama. Number one. Number two, which was one of the signs of Ahl al-Bid'ah that they used to mention. When they would refute people like Yasir Qadi and Al-Maghrib Institute and all these places, from the biggest things that we knew these people are misguided is that they would say, oh no, we have scholars here. We don't need scholars over there in the desert, like Yasir Qadi used to say.
It's ironic.
The irony that they are the same individuals today who now only their sheikhs. Okay, now you're a sheikh. Has your knowledge increased? Is that why you became a sheikh? Did you, are all of you above 50 and it's due to age now? That's why you're calling yourself sheikh? Is it due to age? Okay. Now, after, the timing is important. That this only started during that fitnah. When they dropped all those scholars, all of a sudden you started seeing on their posters, Sheikh Abu Khadija, Sheikh Abu Iyad, Sheikh Hassan al-Somali, Sheikh this one and that one. And then the ones that they don't really rate like that, Ustādh. Ustādh. Little did they know, is Sheikh in Mustalah Ibn al-Hadith is from the stages just before Dawah. ضعيف. He's low, Sheikh. Ustādh is the highest. Ustādh is from the highest. with ulama al-Hadith. But
not to say that we're high.
Of course.
It's
نعم. But now the ones that are in their 30s, if you're with them, you get the title. If you're not with them, like Umaysan, someone who studied for over 20 years, and Qari for Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Abbad, Shaykh Abdul Razaq al-Abbad, and known to all of the ulama, pretty much in the Mamlaka and everything, and known for his ilm and for his juhud and everything, he can't be a sheikh.
They fear that they were going to fall off. That's why they had to rebrand themselves.
Exactly.
And Sheikh Muhammad, as soon as the fitna arose, sorry to cut you off, but they, one of the reasons why they called them, which I believe, Allahu Alam, that they, which it looks like, that they, when Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, when they threw away Sheikh Muhammad, they didn't take from Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, they started to call themselves Mashaykh. Was Muhammad bin Hadi once, back in 2006, if I'm correct, and they made a grievous mistake. They gave a fatwa that was ajib. Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi made them all sign
document
that they are only mere translators, nothing else. So you could tell there's been a grudge.
Now,
the this usage of the title to show and to like make it clear on how it's falsehood, is that all of them who are together in this hizb, no matter what their age is, no matter what their level of studies are, no matter how many years they've been involved in da'wah, some 5 years, some 10 years, some 25 years, some 30 years, no matter what the ages are, some in their 30s, some in their 40s, some are in their 50s now, all of them became shaykh at one time. What's the secret?
Subhanallah.
How did that happen?
And we live in how much of a coincidence is it that, subhanallah, straight after they dropped Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, hafidhahullah ta'ala, they then is almost wallah instantaneously they became mashayikh overnight.
Overnight mashayikh.
Na'am.
Overnight
Na'am.
shuyukh. That's the thing. So if you want to convince us that your knowledge is what has now given you the status of this, the status of shaykh, then we do not see any difference from you. We don't see any difference from you. The same mistakes, the same الروض المربع, the same
لا يعرفون الفاعل من المفعول.
لا والله
اسم الفاعل من اسم المفعول. They don't know
the hijacked علم, hijacked الدعوة.
من الرفع. They've not learned.
الموفق ابن قدامة. الموفق.
والله
سبحان الله.
Allah is the one who gives tawfiq. الموفق is اسم فاعل.
No.
من وفق من الرباعي وفق. So these jahl is just.
That's why sometimes you wonder the individuals who defend them. Akhi, maybe it was just this, maybe it was just that. No. If the person had knowledge, the moment they said the thing, they would even know linguistically this doesn't make sense. If they had ilm. But when you see this individual make that mistake and continue, he actually has no idea. He doesn't know.
Exactly.
And that's the sad part. That the individuals, because they're also ignorant, because if this guy is ignorant, the one under him, what is he going to be?
They keep them ignorant.
They keep them ignorant. This individual is going to be defending, not knowing. The only reason he's defending is he wants to defend his sheikh, so-called sheikh. But he doesn't know that there is no possible way for someone who knows anything about Hanbali fiqh, that this is not a hidden book that only a few ulama only know about. Any student of fiqh and Hanbali fiqh knows this book. And then if you were, it's so mashhoor, that how do you make that mistake and just move on? Maybe if you made the mistake in reading and then you realize that maybe we can make an excuse for the person. But that you continue, you make that mistake and you continue, it shows that the individual doesn't know.
Also to caveat, akhi, look, listen, all of us here teach, and sometimes there is sabqul lisan. A person can fall into a mistake in regards to, sometimes you might say a fatha or a kasra or dhamma in a incorrect way. But when you now are going against mashayikh and are disparaging and doing jarh of well-known mashayikh, when you yourself, and what do they say? Don't throw stones if you live in a glass house. When you are the one, who has now become Shaykh al-Islam, صح? And you are the one that is the flag bearer of jarh wa ta'dil in the West. But then you are making these small mistakes, that's when it becomes to light. صح? But if you were just a person, da'i, sheikh, even if you want to call himself sheikh, and miskeen, teaching the people khair, and then you do mistakes here and there, that's khair. Everybody makes mistakes. We're not trying to magnify a mistake and make it something that is an aib for the person. But when you now are making mistakes in really, really small things, where beginners and students of knowledge won't be making these mistakes. And then now you are, your tongue is loose in regards to the ulama. This is when it becomes a problem.
That's the problem.
Without a doubt, Allah Mubārak fik, especially they try to now belittle the matter of learning Arabic, and they say the matter of learning Arabic itself, without learning the aqidah, without learning the correct belief, without learning the other ulum, is without a doubt is not going to benefit.
Of course.
Why is there anyone that can be more eloquent than Abi Talib and Abi Jahl? No. But in order for someone to understand the religion and to call to it, he has to know a certain amount of Arabic.
100%.
Well, bid'ah and innovations started to become widespread once the when the Arabs conquered the foreign languages, and then the religion spread, and then the lugha started to become corrupt, and then they became misunderstanding and misconceptions came, and people misunderstood words. So without a doubt, it's obligatory upon the da'i. But the scholars, they say a person calling towards the religion has to know a fair amount that he can call the religion to. And this is wujub al-ayn upon the talib al-ilm. It's a fitna. They themselves need to sit underneath the scholars and learn from them. But they've cut off everyone. So.
Even Imam Ahmed, rahimahullah, I believe it's Imam Ahmed from the ulama of the past, Salaf, that said when describing the people of innovation, and in terms of asma wa sifat and iman and jahmiyyah, mu'tazila and the like, that he said, إنما أوتوا من باب اللغة, يعني العلم النحو, and that's where they deviated. Yani their lack of knowledge in certain things, their lack of knowledge of proper Arabic and this and that, they got deviated, they got deceived, and they went astray. And then these individuals say, well, the ones who they love to take whatever supports them, and that's the sign of the person of desires, that they don't look at the mas'ala as a whole. The mas'ala of learning Arabic and having to know Arabic, are you going to sit there today and say that it's not that important? When you have all the aqwal of the Sahaba where they would beat their children when they do make lahan, Umar bin Khattab, and you have how seriously they took the Arabic language and how it was connected to learning the deen, that it was a must and it was directly connected, like Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah says, that learning the Arabic language is from the religion, min ad-deen. So they now want to ignore that aspect and find one narration here that shows, or find a reality such as that, yes, the Asha'ira or the Mu'tazila or these individuals, in order to support their bid'ah or their falsehood, they would resort to lugha and twist ayat due to lugha. That doesn't mean that now it's a blameworthy thing, or now you have an excuse for being ignorant of nahu and the like. That doesn't mean that.
Allah, just to emphasize on that matter, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in his mighty book, بِلِسَانٍ عَرَبِيٍّ مُبِينٍ إِنَّا جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا إِنَّا جَعَلْناهُ قُرْآنًا عَرَبِيًّا بِلِسَانٍ عَرَبِيٍّ مُبِينٍ, clear Arabic. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down this religion. And it's ironic that the Mu'tazila, or these firaq ad-dala that they're talking about, they, in order for someone of knowledge to refute them, has to understand the lugha, so that he can refute their explaining of certain matters. When they said, for example, that land is lit-ta'bid, that it benefits, that it negates forever. Anything that's in the future, it negates it, like to negate the seeing of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And the scholars of lugha are the ones who refute them upon the correct aqidah. If you don't have lugha, they're going to eat you up. Eat you up.
And the lamb of the Asha'ira. استولى
وكلم الله موسى تكليما. Those who read وكلم Allah and made Allah the maf'ul. All of this, if you can't, they can't teach these kutub unless they know the lugha, they can refute it. Look at Shaykh Uthaymin, that you see that the adilla, that when he kitabatu his sharh and kitabatu and many other books, that he uses the lugha
100%
in refuting misconceptions and mistakes or misunderstandings. He uses the lugha. But there's, without that, we don't say we just dwell. That a person all he does is learn the lugha, like the Sufiya. Like what they do is, all they do is learn the lugha, and they just dwell on it, and they don't learn anything else. This, without a doubt, is incorrect.
Of course.
But
there's always balance.
There's always balance.
Ammār.
Allah.
Just because we obviously went in a tangent, just to go back to the Sa'afiqah. And the fitna of, as they say, the fitna of Muhammad bin Hadi. You have to take a position against Muhammad bin Hadi. صح؟ Muhammad bin Hadi, first and foremost, أولا.
Sulaiman Ruhaili, 50 scholars.
That's the biggest. One of the biggest deceptions too.
So you don't think that we're just doing taqleed on Shaykh Muhammad?
No, of course.
Where's Sulaiman Ruhaili came, Abdul al-Badr, they sell their books and they still war against them. Where's 50? I can mention 50 scholars that they used to make taqleed of. Shaykh Falah, Shaykh Falah, when he came, he's the one who built their da'wah. For 6 months, he was true. For 6 months, Shaykh Falah built their da'wah. But it was from the means of us learning our Salafiyyah. We used to go visit him. When he refuted their certain the tasarrufat and how they dealt with matters, what did he do? The next time he came back, they didn't even open they stopped him from the message. And now you see his followers after his death using the Tazkiyah of Shaykh Falah. You see them now. You see the followers. Once Shaykh Falah has passed away,
No.
they use Sheikh Falah's Tazkiyah.
Look at
And
that.
they say, look, Sheikh Falah
Used to
praised
praise.
Asbabs, praised. And Sheikh Falah refutes them, and we all know this.
Na'am, akhi, Jazakallah khair. This is not, exactly as you said, this is not a defense of Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi alone.
No.
This
And not
is,
ta'assub.
na'am, this is
Of
not
course.
ta'assub, no, of course. Hasha wa
If
kadha. Yani, we will never blindfold.
If I were to blind follow anyone and I was a blind follower, I studied with Sheikh Rabi'.
Exactly.
I didn't study with Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi. Yani other than attending here and there. But like I'm in Mecca and he was in Medina. Sheikh Rabi' for 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, was in Mecca and that's what I used to study with. More than once a week. طيب, if it was about blind following someone and using these false qawa'id that they use, age and all of these different things, I would be following Sheikh Rabi'. If that's all it was about, if that's all it was about, I would be following Sheikh Rabi'. But when you look at the reality and you see what you've seen and you've heard what you've heard and you were present when you were seeing these things, how can you just ignore reality and go with just the qawl of the person, of the individual? It's not possible.
It's not possible. So that's a clarification.
And another clarification of what they use age. I remember being.
We're gonna get to that one though.
We'll get to that one.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Mentioning age, you see Abu Khadija now. He says, "I'm same age as Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi. I'm same." أخي, you're old in age, but you're قليل الأدب والعلم. ما ينفع. But I was in Jizan. I remember in 2018, end of 18, that one of the mashayikh in Jizan, I asked him his age. You know how being in the UK, it's a culture that you've asked. And some of the scholars in Muslim countries, they look at you like. And he said to me, "That's not from the adab of the Salaf." He goes, "The Salaf never used to ask one another age. Why? Fearing that the one who's young in age might be belittled because of his age, even if he had a lot of knowledge. And likewise, that the one who's old in age may be elevated above his level, whilst he has no knowledge. But without a doubt, a person old in age, there is certain barakah with the person old age. He has more experience. But if it doesn't have knowledge, then the person of knowledge, no matter what age is that, can be more knowledgeable than anyone of any age.
Of course. So going back to the history, the historical or chronological order of how these things occurred, they used to have issues with Salafis prior to this fitna, prior to this thing. But many things were brewing for years, and then it ended up with this entire fitna and years and more splitting amongst Salafis. So what they wanted to convince and what they tried to convince Sheikh Rabi', and they were successful in afterwards, is that Sheikh Muhammad was the one behind this entire splitting amongst Salafis all over the world. Like, when we know that from individuals like Arafat al-Muhammadi, Muhammad Ghalib al-Umari in UAE, Yemeni, but in UAE, and Hani bin Barik, who now became a communist, clean-shaven, suit and tie wearing, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and everything, became a politician. These three were the main ones in Medina causing huge fitna. And then all these other ones that are around them now. And they had a hand in many different countries causing damage, starting in the fitna in Yemen that happened between mashayikh years ago. And so Arafat knew this. Rather, I know for a fact that Sheikh Rabi' himself knew about what Arafat was up to when he was in Mecca, and he was well aware of it. And now, for anyone who knows Mirath al-Anbiya, the ida'ah that used to exist, and the bookstore that was in Jeddah, that was run by Khalid Baqais, that ida'ah, when it started, many of the mashayikh that were known used to be on that ida'ah. Then one by one, Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoul gone. This one is gone. That one is gone. One by one. And then who appears? Arafat appears. I don't know where now. Arafat now appears, and this one now appears. Now, the entire flip happened. And now, these were individuals who were sitting at the feet of Muhammad bin Hadi. Under him. Now they've become mashayikh. Now it's Arafat Sheikh, Muhammad bin Hadi said, MashaAllah. And now they want to flip history also and try to tell you that Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, his age. Taib, you used to use, when people used to say that about him, Hizbis before, like when in the fitna Ibrahim Ruhaili and the like, they used to say, bring the Tazkiyat of Muhammad Aman al-Jami and Ibn Baz for Muhammad bin Hadi. And even Mashaykh saying the ulama of al-Medina, I believe it was Ibn Baz if I'm not mistaken, the ulama or Muhammad Aman al-Jami, the ulama of al-Medina, he meant that what was mentioned from them, Sheikh Rabi', Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami, Muhammad bin Hadi is from the ones that are mentioned in there. Now, the issue of age. The issue of age, how they say taqdeem of age. يعني مجرد العمر, that is where the haqq is. طيب. Sheikh Rabi' حفظه when he refuted Safar and Salman, who were the ones that were not on his side? يعني they didn't agree with him at first. Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, al-Albani. And then afterwards, when it became clear to al-Albani, then he said the Mashayikh of Medina, they know better than us. That Sheikh Rabi' was correct. طيب, why don't we just look at age? Sheikh al-Albani is the Sheikh of Sheikh Rabi' and elder, and his status is higher. And he's the mujaddid of this era, of this time. No one has, any Salafi knows that. طيب, why didn't everyone look at age then? Why all of a sudden we look at age today? طيب, now, يعني going back again now to the chronological order. After all those years of differing and the Salafis being warned against here and there, years and years went. Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi at the time that these individuals were doing that. And in here, they would be fighting against other brothers, either in their own city or Salafi events, for example, warning against the conference when Sheikh Sulaiman came the first time, right, to London.
Before the Fitnah.
Yeah, Hudayf ibn Yaman trying to get the masjid shut down. Sheikh Ubaid saying to people, go to the Kafir court even, rahimahullah. Because of them, of course. But to get your money back.
By them.
Exactly. To get your money back.
No,
it's not a ta'an. This is what they told the Sheikh, and he believes that this is the qadiyya.
Sheikh Ubaid himself, Sheikh Ubaid said himself, he goes, it's common to have that the leaders, al-umara wal-ulama, that they have bidanat su around them.
هذا صحيح. I translated that kalam. I translated that kalam from
Sheikh
Sheikh
Ubaid himself
Ubaid.
even said
No.
that.
Exactly.
That's
the
known.
thing that I just wanted, the reason why I mentioned that is not ta'an, because they're gonna,
Of course,
they use this, and
Of course,
that
of
was
course.
just you know,
But
just
to say ta'an, well, they're the ones who recorded it and spread it
exactly
for themselves. So if it's ta'an, then why'd you spread it?
Likewise, everybody knows that the mufti is the asir of the mustafti.
هذا هو.
Nah.
هذا هو.
So whatever the mufti is given and presented with in regards to a particular reality or a question, then that's what the sheikh is gonna give iftah on.
بل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, when two individuals came to him, he said, أنا أحكم نحو ما أسمع. يعني أقضي نحو ما أسمع. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said that. What about any other scholar then? I only give verdict based on that which I hear. And this is the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم who will receive revelation. If he didn't receive revelation, then he can only hear from this individual and hear from this individual and rule based on what he hears. And that's it. There's nothing else he can do beyond that. طيب, now, يعني that we believe that for the Prophet and that we don't believe it for a scholar. What is our Salafiyyah? يعني what is that Salafiyyah?
And also, just to mention in regards to, you remember the first time, what year was it? I can't remember. Remember we went to Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili first time he came
2016, 17,
I think, it was around that time in Masjid Hudayf
ibn Yaman
in East London. Me and a couple of brothers went. Subhanallah, yani, then there wasn't this issue of Sa'afiqah.
Yeah, it wasn't there yet.
Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili is aiding Dr. Muhammad
Exactly. Yeah.
But why is it just because Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili was not given a dawah in their masjid or masjid that is affiliated to them?
Their enemies invited him.
Exactly.
They're not in control of.
They're not in control of, exactly. Therefore, they warned against that conference. And also, subhanAllah, what happened was they started teaching. Uwais al-Tawil had a lesson exactly the same time. Exactly the same time. Subhanallah.
Rather, he was asked in that lesson, should we go and attend Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, who came to such a place and such a place? He said, if you learn the manhaj that we taught you, you would not need to ask this question. Wallahi sahih. Ana aqul sahih. If they learned the manhaj munharif that you taught them, they should not be asking. They should have known. Based on what you taught them, that individual wasn't paying attention in class, I guess. He wasn't paying attention. Because you taught them that you should not go to the likes of Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, because it's not through us. That's the manhaj of hizbiyah that you taught them. Allah musta'an. If you taught them correct Salafiyyah, then yes, they should ask that question. It should be, and they wouldn't need to ask. They should have already been there. They should not have been in your lesson to be able to even ask that question. If they knew, subhanAllah, had a proper tarbiyah. Now, moving on to when all of these things happen, then what occurred is, in Medina, for years now, not just what was happening in the West, but many mashayikh you've seen For example, Sheikh Ubaid historically warned against Sheikh Usama al-Utaybi. Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoon called them Fattan, etc. يعني several mashayikh, the mashayikh of Kuwait, Al-Anjari, Ahmed al-Subay'i, all of them all wiped out.
Abu Khadija used
Adil
to scream it,
Mansour, Anjari, نعم. Sheikh Adil Mansour, all of them, the Yemeni mashayikh, Bur'i, Abdurrahman Adil, all of them out, all of them out. يعني, in Egypt, Khalid Uthman, out. Yeah. So now all of that in Somal all out. Yeah, they're with the Ihya Tarath somehow. in Kuwait.
How does
yeah,
that make sense?
imagine. And now I heard from the individual who was behind all of that made Tawbah and left them. And said that Abdullah al-Dhufairi is from the most evil of people.
I know. I've seen it.
And Ahmed was his name. Emirati.
معروف.
نعم. So نعم يعني now and then now Abdullah al-Dhufairi who ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. طيب وين كان هو قبل هذه الفتنة?
The one who said Mizan, was it him who said Mizan is from the Sifa of Allah?
Yes.
We're going to come to that inshallah.
Even the Katf, I believe, Allahu A'lam. But I believe the Katf, and he said some stuff. يعني
If someone else said that, there would have been.
Fawaz al-Madkhali, one of these, يعني forget the akhta and all of these things that occurred from even from his durus and stuff. Fawaz al-Madkhali in one muhadara, it was brought out, it was a tafriq 100% word for word Muhammad bin Hadi's lecture. He gave an entire lecture, transcribed. All he did was read Muhammad bin Hadi's kalam from a lecture that he did previously. Subhanallah. But these are the ulama, mashallah. Now, when these things in Medina were becoming known, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi was becoming aware, and many visitors would come. And in our country, Arafat has a hand in our country, in Holland, for example, and in different countries that they're doing this, basically interfering in affairs of da'wah. Many people would come to Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. Why? Because he had no one that can block. Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi did not allow a single person to be in front of him and the students that come and visit, or the zuwar, the people who come to visit him for Umrah, etc. That's what I'm saying. And unfortunately, Sheikh Rabi' and Sheikh Ubaid, they reached the age of they needed assistance, and they needed aid. Sheikh Ubaid, of course, also the fact that he was blind, rahimahullah. So that they went about their days needing assistance of these individuals who took advantage of these mashayikh, these two kibar. Now, what occurred, because Sheikh Rabi', hafidhullah, when he was in Mecca, this didn't exist. This wasn't happening. Those that were around him were the likes of Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoon and Muhammad Bazmoon and Adil Mansour and other mashayikh. So this would not happen. His door, yes, there would be people who you would have to go through to get in, but it was not like what was happening in Medina in the last few years. طيب. Now Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi became aware of a lot of the things that were happening, not only in the Muslim world, the Muslim countries, amongst Salafis, and who was behind all of it, even in Europe and everything, likewise here in the UK, with a sitting that occurred between Salafi events and I believe Uwais al-Tawil and al-Ahmami and those individuals. And Sheikh Muhammad then realized what was going on. And this is what then got these individuals panicking. Likewise, even regarding Umaysan, that they saw his support for Umaysan. Abdullah al-Ahmami would call Hassan al-Somali, Wallahi alladhi la ilaha illahu, he told me this himself. Let him try to claim that I'm lying now. Abdullah al-Ahmami, in front of the masjid of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, said to me, I called Hassan al-Somali and I told him to visit Umaysan, in the form of bragging. Little does he know, I know this is just to save face. Because you guys now, behind closed doors, you guys slander Umaysan and belittle Umaysan and warn against him. And anyone who works with him, you call him Ta'aban, and you say he works with Hizbis, and you say he goes to Hizbi Masajid. And when they come visit Sheikh Rabi', they have nothing except to try to bring Umaysan down. Sheikh, he doesn't work with us, and he goes here. Yeah, as if you want him to work. As if you want him to work with you, aslan. You want people to believe you are on the same level, ilm-wise, as him. And so him working with you is going to expose what you really are. So why would you even want him? In reality, you believe he's ta'ban and you warn against him. Why are you going to Sheikh Rabi' and saying he doesn't لا يتعاون مع السلفيين? Because you know that works with Sheikh Rabi'. If you say about someone, because Sheikh Rabi' knows that he would warn against those individuals who claim Salafiyyah but they are not, and they're really not with the Salafis. So they tell Sheikh Rabi' that which was going to get him riled up and get him upset with the individual. And they know because he has ghayra for Salafiyyah. And he gets angry for Salafiyyah and the haqq. They know.
You come to Sheikh from like
Naam.
different people from different.
Naam, exactly. At different times, one from the UK, one from America, or different cities. So now they said to, they would say that to Sheikh Rabi', Muhammad bin Hadi, that didn't work. That didn't work with him. And so Abdullah, because he was in Medina, Al-Hamami, he knew what was happening at the time. That Salafi events, they were getting close to Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, and he believed them. So their mashru' was not going well, basically. And that in America, that he knew what Hassan al-Somali was doing and the like, and that Muhammad bin Hadi, that Umaysan, is what he did a telelink for him one time, showing his support for Umaysan. And so they knew now Muzam al-Faqiri. So Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi started supporting the Mu'tadilin of the Salafis in different countries, those upon Wasatiyah, in truth.
And it also reached me by way of thiqah, by Sheikh Muhammad Ali in our masjid, that he also defended Muhammad Abdulhakeem, Sheikh Muhammad Cardiff, Muhammad bin Hadi. Defended Sheikh Muhammad Abdullah in front of them in his house.
Yes, that's true.
And he said, this shaybah, this person, this old grey-haired man, leave him alone. That's what he said.
True.
Leave him alone, stop.
That's true.
And this, because there was a quarrel between the two. Always been a quarrel between the two. So as you said, you can add that one as well, inshallah.
That's true. And even Sheikh Uthman. Sheikh Uthman, after they called Sheikh Rabi' to speak about him and everything, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, we did a dawra istiraha with Sheikh Uthman and Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, and he praised Sheikh Uthman. Now, when they saw that was happening, they had to tread carefully because they did not want Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi to then refute them. This is at the time where the Salafis all over the world were still accepting Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi.
Of course, absolutely.
And so they knew that they had to tread carefully. This now leads up to the year before Sheikh Rabi' spoke. And everything, basically, all the bayanat and all of that, which I believe was either 2015 or 26. I will get to that bayanat.
Get to that, inshallah.
Yeah. Now, in that year, they visited Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. Abu Iyad.
Which year, sorry? Is it
before? I believe 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
Before the Sheikh spoke.
Before Sheikh Rabi'. Okay. What I know for sure is it's the year before Sheikh Rabi' spoke.
Before the lecture.
Yeah, it's before the lecture.
Yeah,
it's before that lecture.
Okay.
It's the same year as the lecture, though.
Same year as the lecture, yeah.
So that was 17?
Yeah, the lecture came.
I think end of 2016.
End of 17.
December it was.
It was December 2017.
Okay, so then this has to be 16 then. Yeah. So it's the year. No, it's the 17, but in April.
Okay.
Yeah, in the springtime when they come for Umrah. Yeah, he used to do those, exactly, yeah. So now they came for Umrah, they visited Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. Abu Iyad, Abu Khadija, Abu Hakeem, Taqweem. Abu Ma'at, Taqweem.
It's from the Ma'kulin now.
Now, exactly, now. Which, Ajab al-Ujab, he's saying exactly what we've been saying now. Control, monopoly, those who, you can't even do a dawra unless you go, mashallah, tabarakallah.
We'll get to that, inshallah. Inshallah.
So now, they came to visit Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. And this visit is very important because you will see what they did from this point on for the rest of that year, and then how they flipped the following year right after Sheikh Rabi' spoke. In that majlis, and I know this directly from one individual who heard it from Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, because we'll get to it, how that happened. But Sheikh Muhammad, when they visited him, he spoke to them about Arafat and those individuals, right? They saw in his house where he had the files, evidence against these individuals. They requested to see those files, and he didn't show it to them. And later on, they themselves wrote something that says the exact same thing. So, so far these stories are the same. That they asked him to see it, but they didn't, because in reality he knew what they were about. At this point on, and in this moment, he knew whose side they were on, what they were up to, who they're connected to, and everything. Shaykh Muhammad knew. So he didn't show them anything. Now, when he spoke about them and mentioned the things that they are doing, Abu Khadija said, نحن معك يا شيخ. We are with you, ya Shaykh. طيب. Someone who says to you after you've told them the issues with these individuals, we're with you, is that someone who needs dalil, or someone who already saw it, yani just like you see the sun. This is someone who knows for himself what these individuals are doing. Everything that we were saying about you have to now call them if you want to see Sheikh Ubaid and this and that. Abdulhakeem told that to Abu Makkah before they kicked him out and everything. Abdulhakeem told him, we have to now, when we go to Sheikh Ubaid, Masjid Radwan or whatever, we have to now walk around them and everything, and we can only get to him through them. When we were around Sheikh Ubaid when they were kids. He said. These people didn't even exist, which is true. Now they're complaining about what we're complaining about. When they say, why did Muhammad bin Hadi visit Sheikh Rabi'? Why didn't he go visit him? Why did he just take his own position? Blah blah blah. Why weren't you able to see my Sheikh before? What you used to admit, now you want to use it as evidence because now that's all you have. After that majlis with Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, they didn't see the evidence. They left. They went back to their countries. That same summer, August, they had a summer conference. They did 2 telelinks with Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi.
I was present in one.
And even before that, before they left, they do their Medina conference, Umrah, for the people, Muta'alimin. They had one poster that came out that had Arafat on there. Sheikh Muhammad told them, either you remove him or you remove me. They remove, a new poster came up, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi is on it, Arafat's gone. I thought he has no evidence, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. If he has no evidence and he oppressed Salafis and he spoke about Salafis without evidence, why did you remove Arafat from that poster?
Question that needs to be asked.
Why did you remove him from your Dawah? Why did all of you, the ones in the West, stop retweeting, stop liking, stop following all of these individuals that are known as Sa'afiqah that Sheikh Muhammad was referring to? All over the place. Abdullah al-Dhufayri, Arafat, Abdullah al-Juhani, Rifa'i, Bandar al-Khaybari, individuals we haven't even heard from for years now. Their names,
exactly.
All of these individuals, that only got introduced to the West from MPubs, Muwahhideen publications in Trinidad. They're the ones who were doing telelink every other day with people nobody even heard of and raised these individuals. And now people believe they're ulama somehow. Beyond that, you go to Medina. Do these individuals have durus? Now some of them do, but back then they have durus. Do they have students? What were they? These are individuals in their late 30s and early 40s that they've raised to make people believe. Arafat, I attended his PhD dissertation. That means this individual studied while I was there. So he's not someone who you can say is from the ulama.
Again, a PhD is sound big in this.
Naam. But saying that, the closeness, I'm a new student. That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
I'm a young student, a new student. While I'm in the University of al-Qura, that's when he took his PhD in attendance. So he's young, showing that he's young, that they want to compare and replace the kibar with these types of individuals. Individuals that, even Khalid al-Dhufayri, even though I don't consider him to be like these individuals, the same, even though he's involved in stuff like that, but the fact that I can't say he's like Arafat, Khalid al-Dhufayri used to sit. I remember Sheikh Sulaiman, when he came the first time to the UK, Khalid al-Dhufayri also came that same time.
Yes.
And Khalid al-Dhufayri, Sheikh Sulaiman said, MashaAllah, an individual who was sitting in my durus, basically, what they did for him is they stopped all the durus in the UK. Everyone stopped their durus to go to Khalid al-Dhufayri that time. And that's Sulaiman Ruhaili's student. But when Sheikh Sulaiman came, they all started having classes somehow out of nowhere. All of them started teaching. Imagine. That's his student. There's no comparison. He's the one, the ilm he has, some of it is thanks to Sheikh, after Allah, obviously,
look at the
to Sheikh Sulaiman. Su'ul adab.
A scholar the size of Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, obviously no scholars infallible.
No.
We're not infatuated by names like they are.
Of course.
But Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, what we know of him is that he's a scholar, a major scholar from Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Exactly, صح. But at the same time, look at the mannerisms that they show in regards to this particular issue where he came, and then at the same time doing durus exactly the same time in exactly the same city. Subhanallah. What does that show? The tulab. But when Sheikh Khalid becomes, which khair, okay, no problem. Stop all the durus for Sheikh Khalid. We even went to Sheikh Khalid al-Dhufayri's conference those days. I remember. But that's the kind of tarbiyah that you like. So if there is an alim min ulama Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in the UK, in the West, every single student should try their best to try and attend.
Of course,
صح?
of course.
Yeah, but look at the what's it called again? Double standards.
Double standards.
Subhanallah.
And they started warning against going there because they're saying some hizbis are attending Sheikh Sulaiman's Dawrat.
Hizbis are in need of it.
Munafiqeen were in the guidance of the Prophet.
Yeah.
What does that individual have to do with? Are you saying then that Sulaiman Ruhaili is what they're on? What are you trying to? By any means necessary. By any means necessary, we cannot allow Salafi events to have a makana. We have to remain on top, even if it means we have to refute the gathering or the durus, or warn against the durus of Sheikh Sulaiman Ruhaili, Mudarris of Masjid al-Nabawi, from the fuqaha of Medina, the most beneficial of the mashayikh and the most active of mashayikh that exist, Salafi mashayikh. على كل حال, we'll go back to, inshallah ta'ala, the history as it pertains to what occurred between Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi in his exposure of these individuals. So as we were saying previously, that after the visit to Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi at his house, then they removed Arafat from that poster and included Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, and they conducted that dawrah. And then after that, in August of the same year, they had their summer conference. In that summer conference, they had 2 telelinks with Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, which shows what? That they are on, in support of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. There is no position against him or anything. Now, fast forward, in around the end of that same year, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi gave his well-known lecture, أنا لمحمد بن هادي أن يخرج عن صماته. That the time has come for Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi to break his silence. طيب. In that lecture now, when he gave that lecture at the end of that year, I believe 2016, at the end of 2016 or 17, one of the two, that he gave that lecture. As we all know, this entire fitna later on for these individuals, when at first they tried the angle of the term Sa'afiqa means tabdi'. He intends to make tabdi' of these individuals. He oppressed Salafis. He warned against Salafis without evidence. He is on the way of the Haddadiyah. He doesn't respect Sheikh Rabi'. He doesn't respect Sheikh Ubayd. When they couldn't get all of that to stick, the only thing they could resort to afterwards was that he made qadf of a Muslim in the house of Allah, in a house from bayt fi baytin min buyutillah. طيب. Now, if we go chronologically to show you how this was a coordinated and a plot and a scheming from these individuals. When that lecture happened, less than a month after it, I went to Medina with our brother that we studied together in Mecca, Akhuna Ibrahim, Abu Muslim. We went to Al-Medina together, and we attended a dars of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi at his masjid. Who do we find there? Abdullah al-Ahmami and Uwais al-Tawil. طيب. But I thought he committed qadf. I thought he just committed qadf a few weeks ago. Why is Abdullah al-Ahmami and Uwais al-Tawil at his masjid? I thought he oppressed Salafis. I thought he spoke about Salafis without evidence. I thought he slandered Salafis and blah, 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 and lied about Salafis, and he means tabdi' of these individuals. And if all of that is true, what were they doing there at his dars? طيب. A month after that, about February of the following year, 2 months after that lecture, Abdullah al-Hammami tweeted on his official Twitter account that he visited Mecca and that Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam, Sheikhuna Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was sick. And that he put on Twitter that he came back from Mecca, visited Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, and he informed him of the illness of Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam, and Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi made dua for Sheikh Muhammad Ali Adam. And Abdullah al-Hammami tweeted that and put that on his Twitter. Why is he visiting a qadif? A quote-unquote qadif? Why does he still have this relationship with a qadif? Or did he not know that what occurred in there at the masjid 2 months prior was qadf? Did he not hear about it? Or was it not qadf aslan? Only when later on they flipped did it turn into qadf. Like a few months later after that, the summer of that same year, so about 6 to 7 months after Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi's lecture, Anani Muhammad bin Hadi, Sheikh Rabi' came out with the first, yani Allahu Alam, even if it's Sheikh Rabi' who wrote it, we don't know what was happening in Sheikh Rabi''s house, but this was pretty much a questionnaire. It was an interrogation of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. They put it out, obviously, as a refutation, because they needed it. They needed Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi to be refuted and dropped, because he was aware of what they were about. And in fear of them getting refuted, they were racing with time. Are they going to get refuted before Muhammad bin Hadi gets dropped or not? The desperation was at an ultimate high. So now Sheikh Rabi' comes out with these questions, list of questions to Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. You said in this tape, this telelink to such and such country, that they, in their private gatherings, they attack the scholars. You said about them that they're this and this and that. You said about them, what is your evidence for this? What is your evidence for this? What is your evidence for this? And then at the end of the article, Sheikh Rabi', or whoever wrote that, Allahu Alam, references the lectures that he took these statements of Sheikh Muhammad from. Every single one of those lectures were lectures prior to that lecture, Anani Muhammad bin Hadi. Meaning the first official thing that came out from Sheikh Rabi' did not even address that lecture.
Allahu Akbar.
Did not even address that lecture, which then became the only thing they spoke about. So how come it took 6 months for Sheikh Rabi' or whoever wrote this article, or any of these individuals, to ever accuse Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi of committing qadf? Why was it, you said this about them, you said this about them, and now this lecture of Anani Muhammad bin Hadi was filled with evidence. Because Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, what they don't tell their followers is that he was sitting in the masjid with papers, reading from their tweets. He was in the masjid going through papers, saying, you said I don't have a position against Muhammad al-Imam, here's your tweet on this date, leaving Sheikh Rabi''s house, saying Muhammad bin Hadi, Allama Muhammad bin Hadi says a word of haqq, a word of truth regarding Muhammad al-Imam, blah, blah, blah. So they are lying now. So Muhammad bin Hadi was using their own words and showing it with papers. And everyone
showing contradictions.
Showing their contradictions. Now, the key thing to note is that why did it take so long for anyone to notice something so azim that they made, that Muhammad bin Hadi is a fasiq now? Some of them, like Hamza Abdul Razak Hadahullah in Philadelphia, saying it's over. It's over. There's audio of his that spread around that time. It's over. He's been lashed already. Qadiyya is over. And he's arguing with someone. Yeah. These individuals are liars. These individuals are liars. طيب, the initial hukum happened, and then there's you can go to the mahkamah to get it looked over a second time, and this took years until it was finally settled, and Muhammad bin Hadi was ruled to be innocent.
And this kalima ahir, we'll come to it.
We'll get to it. Now, these individuals, in the beginning, due to their desperation, they desperately needed Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi to be ruled as to be found guilty and to be lashed. Why? Because they desperately needed him to be lashed and to be considered a fasiq. They wanted that he's lashed for committing qadf, and that he becomes a fasiq. Why? Because the fasiq, his qawl is not accepted. So whatever he says about us now afterwards, we cannot accept it. Why? Because he's a fasiq.
So his adala is gone.
His adala is now gone. And this is what they needed to happen. And that's why they were so desperate to rush and say, the mahkamah is over, don't listen to anyone who says there's anything left, that he's already been lashed, blah, blah, blah. All of these things were being said. طيب. Now, let's get to this kalima, ahir, that Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, if we look at the siyaq, if you look at the context of how he was speaking when this, word was used. When you say the word, there's many ahkam that have to do with using or an accusation of zina. The fact that you simply insult someone with a word that could possibly mean zina, that is not enough. If you intended an insult, that is not the same as an accusation of zina.
كلمة that's محتملة.
كلمة that's محتملة. That we have scenarios. There is a scenario that one of the Salaf, in the time of Imam Ahmad was asked about it, that so and so said to someone, oh son of a woman, basically, son of a woman who commits zina. So this is an accusation of zina. And then Imam Ahmad then said, we hope that it was due to ghayra of the deen. He said, he was asked about this love, did he commit qadf? He said, we hope that he said it out of anger for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, jealousy out of the deen, that he didn't actually intend the accusation of zina, but rather this scholar, he got angry, and in the moment of anger, that slipped out of him. Now, when we look at the words that can be seen as qadf, the ulama categorize them into two categories. Some that are sarih, explicitly clear. O zani, crystal clear. It's not muhtamil. There's no other meaning that can possibly be meant by that. However, there are other words that can have more than one meaning. In the lugha, they have the meaning of, for example, fajr, sinful, rebellious individual, immoral individual. And likewise, in certain urf, it can also mean zani. It can also be a synonym for zani. Now, when it comes to the words that are muhtamila like this, then meaning that they can contain two meanings.
Or more.
Or more, yeah. That it can have more than one meaning. That we cannot crystal clear say for sure this person intends that he is accusing this person of zina. I saw you commit zina. Crystal clear that it's an accusation of zina. The ulama say that individual, then it is, even if it goes to the mahkamah, it goes back to the intended meaning of that individual. Ibn Baz, al-Albani, the ulama of the past, and the ulama of the madahib, fuqaha of old, when you look at the bab of qadf in the books of fiqh, this is how they explain it. If these individuals who wanted Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi to be a qadif so desperately, why didn't they clarify to the people in this way, in the same way that the fuqaha do? At that time, Musa Richardson hadahullah tried to come with that which aided him in that moment of the word ahir, meaning this and that. But yes, in a certain urf, yes, in that urf, it can mean zani. In that urf, it can mean zani. No one denies that. But he used that in order to support his cause at that time. Then Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili went into tafsil with regards to that. A true faqih, a true person of knowledge. And he explained it exactly how we're mentioning it now. That words can have an explicit, clear-cut meaning and a meaning that can have more than one meaning. And that the ruling goes back to what that person intended by way of that. If they intended to accuse the person of zina, then yes, they'll be considered a qadif. If they intended out of anger or whatever the case is to insult the person, for example, then it's an insult and it's not an accusation of zina. It's not saying that I witnessed you commit zina or you are a zani, I know you committed the. It is not an accusation of zina. And now the ruling in the end came out. What is interesting to note is how they play games with this mas'ala here. That when the first hukum came from the mahkamah, when the first ruling came from the courts, they were the ones running around with this ruling. They were the ones saying, you hear that Hamza Abdul Razak in Philly, screaming at the top of his lungs, and going back and forth and yelling at a brother who's arguing with him, that it's over, the matter is clear, etc., and he raising his voice and screaming. He's a supposed student of Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi, imagine. للأسف الشديد. And now claiming that the matter is over, that he's already been lashed, case closed. Case closed, and it continued for another 4 years. Who became the kadhab in the end? Subhanallah.
Sorry to cut you off. Even worse than that, This is two questions I always ask them. Anyone who argues with me that they are unable to answer, and I dare them, أتحداهم الآن إلى الآن, and they will never be able to answer this. If they like never answer it to something that is in their favor. I asked them, number one, is the kalima ahid, does it only mean, is it sarih, and does the only meaning it takes it takes is zani? Second is, what is that the intention of the sheikh?
Exactly.
That's two questions I asked. And what's even worse is that this same individual, I think the same individual that the sheikh was referring to, that they were the ones that were exposing that individual and sending his videos. And he came, as you told me, crying to Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi. And then Sheikh Mohammed defended him. And you see that individual holding the woman, the ajnabi to him. You see him even, I wouldn't advise anyone to look, but this is all over the internet. It's not something which is hidden.
And the brothers in Holland bear witness against him.
In the court, right?
In the court, his own son bear witness against him.
Akbar.
His own son came and bear witness against who he is and what he is, and in favor of Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi.
Now, where's their tawbah from that? Clarifying that.
And as you said, the siyaq of the sheikh mentioning that,
this is the point.
Very important.
Now, the siyaq now, the context of how that word even came about. It was that this individual was involved in da'wah in Holland. However, he was connected to Arafat and caused a lot of damage. And that there were those who were more senior than him and more beneficial than him in da'wah in Holland that he was causing trouble with. Who complained to the mashayikh regarding him? It came to the mashayikh. But when these things happened, these videos of what this qadiyya is about, when it spread in Holland and it became known, then those brothers, those other du'at, some of them in their late 40s and 50s, like Bushta, etc., they came to Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi and said, this has occurred with regards to this individual. Should we warn against him and mention that which he did because it's out there? Or should we conceal his sin and not spread it? Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi told them not to spread it and to conceal his sin. And this is from the adala of Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi, but that he should step away from da'wah. And that is what they continued upon. Up until a little bit after that, Abdullah al-Juhani, al-Rifa'i al-Juhani, took him to Sheikh Ubaid, and Sheikh Ubaid praised him. He then took that tazkiyah and would use it and throw it in the face of anyone who said, what are you doing involved in da'wah? And so now Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi, in this lecture, when he mentions هذا الفاجر العاهر, and he mentions his name, he is not even speaking about him, nor is he even saying that you committed zin or anything. He's actually addressing Abdullah Rifa'i al-Juhani. He's speaking to him saying, how shameless are you that تستخرج لهذا الفاجر الآهر تزكية من Sheikh Ubaid. That you, knowing what this individual is, this immoral individual, that you go to Sheikh Ubaid and you bring out a tazkiyah for him in order for him to go back and be involved in da'wah again.
The Sheikh says, whoever's with you, then he is, mashallah, Sheikh al-Allama, from the best of them. Exactly. So if that person's with you, you'll bring tazkiyah out for them, put them on a pedestal.
No matter what he is.
No matter what he is.
Even Hani bin Barak.
Exactly. You'll defend the likes of Hani bin Barak. Subhanallah. Where's the adala and the insaf? So sorry, Akhi, that's the thing. If you're with them, you're the best. If you're against them, even if you're from min atqa nas, if you're from the best pious brothers, known for Salafiyyah and known for Dawah, if you're against them and you're not upon their way and you're not upon their path, khalas, you're from the min aqbah nas, from the worst and most disgraced people.
So now that is the key thing to know, is that the siyaq that Sheikh Mohammed bin Hadi was speaking in, the context that he was speaking in, was addressing this individual. How can you bring this individual to Sheikh Ubaid in order for him to get tazkiyah and put him back into da'wah when you know the damage that he's caused and the harm that he's caused to the da'wah? So he was addressing him, how dare you do this? He wasn't speaking to that Hollandi and saying, you are this and this and this. That was the context of his speech. Now, what occurred. Now for those who say Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi is a qadhif, and another thing that is important, subhanallah, another point that is crucial when it comes to the ruling of qadhf against someone, that one thing they purposely leave out is that they say qadhf just like that. Rather, in the books of fiqh, you will not find the mas'ala of qadhf. It's qadhf of a muhsan. Qadhf of a muhsan. This is an individual known for fisq. It's all over public. For the fasiq, there's no qadhf.
Just translate the muhsan part.
Muhsan, a chaste individual. A person known for chastity. An individual who is known for chastity, known to be pure, not a fasiq, not an open fasiq. That individual is the one who qadhf applies to. If you make qadhf of that individual, whether a sister, female or male, or a brother, that you make qadhf of them, then that is when the qadhf applies to you if you intended, and the kalima is sariha, it's an explicit term that's used usually. Al-Muhsanat, exactly. Yeah, na'am. So now, they conveniently leave that part out. Muhammad bin Hadi committed qadhf. Okay, let's say for argument's sake, jadalan qadhf. Qadhf of what? Of who? A person known for chastity or not?
Or a person who's caught on CCTV.
And then now they came with you cannot use in the court's video and pictures and this and that. One of them used to say that back then. Okay, let's remove all of that. Sheikh Ubaid, when they convinced Sheikh Ubaid, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi is committing all these crimes and doing all these evil things, in an audio that they put out regarding Sheikh Ubaid, criticizing Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, he was referring to the issue of the qadhf that they're talking about, saying, ماذا يريد من الرجل قد تاب. الرجل قد تاب, Sheikh Ubaid said. Allahu Akbar. I thought he was chaste. I thought he did nothing. What is Sheikh Ubaid referring to when he says قد تاب? It came out, subhanallah, when they would put it out, and this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when things that they thought was ammo, a bazooka for themselves, was a grenade that blew up in their own hand. A grenade that blew up in their own hand. Sheikh Ubaid, when Sheikh Ubaid says, الرجل قد تاب. تاب من ماذا? we don't say he's a zani. Okay, we can't say. But is this an individual that should have been? Sheikh Ubaid said tab. That means he did something.
And then the wasf of Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi is therefore applicable.
Exactly.
He was an ahd.
Exactly. He's an immoral individual, and that is, I know shak about it. Now they say al-sahir. And then now another thing is that now when this individual, let's say, is innocent, you want to say, okay, we do not establish that he is a zani by way of video, but is that applied to the meaning that the had won't be applied to him? That's what it is, and that's the deception. Yes, we won't establish the had on an individual due to this, because anything can be played with technology and things like that. But to know that he's a fasiq, it's not the same thing. To know that he's a fasiq or immoral individual, that's not the same thing. Now,
and these individuals, just the way they manipulate people and the way they use the media, is the same tactics that the Jews and the tabloids use. Sensationalism, using what's for them, leaving out what's against them. Same tactics.
You say the way of the Yahud.
Not saying they're Yahud. They're following the way of the Yahud.
Sensationalism.
They're going to use that later on.
When they say he made qadhf of a Muslim in the house of Allah, they have to add house of Allah. If it was outside the house of Allah, would it not be qadhf? And why do you have to add that it's in the house of Allah? Oh, he didn't even care about the hurma of the masjid. That's why yufakhimun. They have to blow it up. They have to blow it up for you. So for you to see this individual who's a scholar from the kibar of the Ahlul Sunnah of this time, and a mujahid, as it comes to defending the Sunnah and the people of Sunnah, and a thorn in the necks of Ahlul Bid'ah, they have to make you see him as Iblis.
And just a year ago, they were praising him and saying that he's al-allama. I was present in Masjid Salafi on Wright Street. where they had the telling with the Sheikh, and that was probably a year before, I think it was, as you mentioned, before the Sheikh spoke out about the Salafiyyah, and they introduced him, wallahi, and Allah's my witness, they said, Al-Allama Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi, and I think it was Abu Khadija himself that said,
of course.
So a person falls from the status of Al-Allama all the way down to Qadif, Saqit al-Adala. SubhanAllah.
You would think that someone that they had a relationship with for over 25 years, that relationship would give him at least in the worst case scenario, let me just be quiet and leave this. I don't want to hear about any of this. If he did it. You would think at least it would affect you. That a scholar, let's say it was all true, a scholar that you've loved for all these years, you would not be happy with it. How do you go so quickly to dropping someone that quick? Al-ghulu fil madh wal-ghulu fil isqat.
And whatever you see, and I've always, my friend, my dear friend in Somalia, in Hargeisa, used to say to me, if you see someone that praises the people extremely, be aware of that person. Later on, he's going to drop. When he drops you, he's going to go the other way with you.
He's dropping 100%. He's dropping. So then now this mas'ala of qadf and how it was orchestrated and it was all a plotting and scheming. Another question is for the one who's sincere. This is addressing the one who's sincere and cares about their deen and loved it's being around Ahl al-Ilm and the people of Sunnah and taking from the scholars of and they're not pleased with this new methodology of removing you away from all the ulama, keeping you away from the ulama, and making you believe that they're all just misguided somehow. Now, they want you to believe that all of these ulama who did not take a position against Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, they just chose now to just sell their deen and not care about their deen for the sake of Muhammad bin Hadi. One man. How many before him have been refuted and gone astray and left, and everyone moved on. Everyone moved on from him, and that's it. All these individuals in the past. If Muhammad bin Hadi was truly guilty of this, why would all of these ulama who are the ones who have taqwa and ilm and the most righteous in general,
and they themselves had a connection with?
And they themselves also, But all of these mashayikh now when we see all of the mashayikh of Medina, Muhammad bin Sheikh Sālih Suhaimi, Sheikh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, Abdul Razak al-Abbad, you name it. Any of the mashayikh of Medina who knew Muhammad bin Hadi and everything.
The mashayikh al-Riyadh.
Mashayikh al-Riyadh, all of them.
Mashayikh in
Jizan, mashayikh in Egypt, mashayikh in Algeria, mashayikh in Somal, mashayikh in all of these mashayikh all over the place.
One sheikh they love to cling to, Sheikh Sālih Fawzān.
He said, and he asked him in his dars, and he said, take knowledge.
Take knowledge from Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. Imam al-Fawzān.
Exactly. You're
going to go against him? Allah musta'an, subhanAllah. Even though we don't put forward the aqwal of the ulama like that, like they do. You see? But the issue is, are you consistent? Again, going back to the thing of double standards, are you consistent in regards to how you apply these principles? Sheikh Sālih Fawzān al-Imam. He said, take knowledge from Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. Did he say anything regarding him? No.
Why didn't he speak about him? Why is he quiet?
Exactly.
They can't talk about his
exactly.
They know they're gonna get destroyed if they try to warn against Sheikh.
The Mashayikh al-Jizan. Now they want to also paint the picture for their followers that Sheikh Rabi' is the elder Imam al-Jarh wa Ta'deel, the more senior scholar. Therefore, he must be right. He's the one who you should be taken from. Muhammad bin Hadi was in diapers when Sheikh Rabi' was already an alim, and etc., and these type of ta'unat. Who would know the status of these two scholars except for the people of their land, Ahl al-Jizan, where both of these scholars are from? Muhammad bin Hadi and Sheikh Rabi', both from the Madkhali tribe, were from the south of Saudiya. Muhammad Akur, Ali bin Zayd, Muhammad bin Zayd, all of these mashayikh of Jizan, Abdullah Najmi, all of them, they don't know who's more senior. They don't know who's more knowledgeable between the two. They don't know Sheikh Rabi' is Imam of Jarh wa Ta'deel. They don't know any of these things. Why do they continuously invite Muhammad bin Hadi to Jizan and he's doing the kalima iftitahiyya for their dawrat? Why did they ignore the jarh of Sheikh Rabi' And يعني why did they ignore the jarh of Sheikh Rabi' regarding Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi? Do they not care about the hurma of the masajid and qadf happening in the masajid? Or do they know ilm? Or do they know the mas'ala, the way that the ulama have actually explained the mas'ala? Yani these individuals, just like the tactics of the Jews, they will want to paint the picture that is only black and white. There's no other way. There's only that you support qadf, and you have no problem with a believer being accused of zina in the house of Allah, or that you take a stance against it and you side with the Salafis, yani, which is them, obviously. Those are the only two options that you have. There is no middle. The middle, which is the path of haqq. Nobody is pleased with a believer being accused of zina in the house of Allah. Nobody. But did that occur? Did that actually occur? Is that what the books of fiqh say? If you're sincere and you look at the books of fiqh and you see what the ulama have said about these ahkam, then you know that you are following daleel. You're not following an individual.
That's what they always say. We're following proof. We're following the daleel. That's what they always say.
And then you say, what's the proof? They say, Sheikh Rabi' said.
Subhanallah.
And the calamity in our time is that you see someone saying one matter and that same person directly opposing it. And there's no tadbiq al-amali. You see a person who'll stand up, they'll do a khutbah about kadhib, وهو أكذب الناس. هو أكذب الناس. And this is one of the musibah, and only people, when judging by his action, you can judge him by the person's action, you can judge. Wallahi, man.
Allahu musta'an.
So what was the next
of course, they clang on to that kalima of ahir without obviously having any legs to stand on, as they say. Subhanallah.
So one of the points that I remember is the shubha. From the shubha is they say you guys are saying that Sheikh Rabi' doesn't understand anything. He's old in age. He's being manipulated.
Yes.
This is ta'an.
Yes, this is ta'an on Sheikh Rabi'.
That's a very important point now.
And we mentioned during that fitna when it was occurring, translating different aqwal of the ulama, of Sheikh Rabi' himself, of Sheikh Ubaid himself, of speaking about bitanat as-su', that even from the anbiya, that they can have a bitana, that is calling them to that which is incorrect, etc. And then you have bitana, even the anbiya can have bitanat as-su'.
Those close to them.
Those close to them that are these inner circle or their entourage, those that are around them. And we have this same thing for the ulama. If we can accept it for the anbiya of Allah, then anyone below them is has more of a right to that, for that applying to them. Exactly.
But the ulama are not.
Exactly. So now, what makes it impossible for Sheikh Rabi' to be manipulated? Why? The question I have to ask is, they get upset and they start huffing and puffing and claiming that it's a ta'an, it's an attack on the honor of Sheikh Rabi', or any other Sheikh Ubaid and the like, that they can be deceived by those that are around them. That they give you the picture that this is an insult, that this is the insults of the ikhwan and the Ahl al-Bid'ah. Because they have to add that little in, so that yes, they're not going to make tabdi' of you, but they have to make you look like Ahl Bid'ah. They have to just throw that in there. Ikhwan, the Hizbis. Oh, we didn't say you're Hizbi. Oh yeah, but you said everything other than the tabdi'.
Exactly.
This is a tactic, likewise from the tactics of the Yahud and the tabloids, that they will not directly accuse you of that thing, but they'll mention all the awsaf, all the characteristics of that evil group, so that the people will just make the connection themselves. And they're free, since they didn't actually say you are a Hizbi. But they'll say, the Hizbis are the ones who say that the scholars are being deceived by those that are around them. The Hizbis that are the ones that say that, the Sheikh is old in age and this and that. They're the ones who no, the Hizbis are trying to attack the Sheikh, say he's old, and they're mocking him and insulting him. We are actually saying it in defense of him, looking for an excuse for the Sheikh.
His lesson in
Na'am. So now, when Sheikh Rabi' now, let's go to historically. When we were in Mecca, Sheikh Rabi' was teaching us Ma'arij al-Qabul, Hafid al-Hakami. That lesson would be recorded and broadcasted on Mirath al-Anbiya. However, Sheikh Rabi' didn't allow it to be put out publicly. Why? Because he did not trust his memory at that time, and he wanted for the students to look through the tapes and the recordings, and once everything he said in there was correct, for then it goes out in public. This is when he was in Mecca. I was there since 2013. That was the case in Mecca. طيب. When Sheikh Rabi' left Mecca and moved to Medina, everyone who was around at that time knew that he began teaching Sahih Muslim. He first started at his house in Rabwa, and then when it was too packed and too many students were there, he moved to Masjid Ridwan, and I believe he had either one, if I'm not mistaken, two, or even just one class. And then the Sheikh cancelled the class due to not being able to depend on his memory, due to his health and his old age at the time. And so everyone knows then that is the reason why the class it got cancelled. But now everyone who knew that at that time never said that it was ta'an. And if at that time I said Sheikh Rabi' cancelled his class due to his memory and things like that, that would not be seen as a ta'an. Sheikh Rabi', everyone who visited him in his house knows that his bed is a hospital bed. Everyone knows that he has medication all around him. Everyone who knows the Sheikh and knows his condition knows that he had cancer just a few years ago. And that there was a time where, and this was all over Twitter for anyone who's aware, Ahmed Zahrani was tweeting and everything, Sheikh Rabi' got flown by helicopter from Medina to Jeddah emergency by one of the Umara, Jazahumullah khair. Emergency, he was close to dying due to having cancer. And then he was in the hospital. This is about 2015, 14, around that time. طيب, he's in good health, Sheikh Rabi'? This is who we're supposed to believe is in good health. And why does he have these helpers? What are they doing at his house all day? Abdulwahid and these individuals, what are they doing there?
He was arrested now, Abdulwahid.
Nah.
It's another topic.
Nah.
Another topic, another podcast.
Sheikh Rabi', one time we visited him in his house, and it was full. The house was full. This is in Medina. We visited him with some of the Yemeni mashayikh that live in Jeddah, Samir al-Qaisi and them, from the students of Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah, who used to have a private class in Mecca with Sheikh Rabi', and were from the closest and most senior true students of Sheikh Rabi' at the time, before he stopped teaching. When we visited his house, and we wanted to visit, but there were other people there that were causing fitna and trying to get kalam on certain mashayikh and stuff like that. But Sheikh Rabi' said, خففوا علي. He started crying. He said, خففوا علي. Basically, how would you translate خففوا علي?
Lighten it up upon me.
Lighten it upon me. It's a burden, basically, him having to host. He couldn't. He was laying on the bed with his feet on the bed and his books all around him. I believe he was working on something at that time. Books all around him. He said, I am bedridden from morning to Isha, taking nothing but medications. This is the only time I have energy to write anything after Isha, he said. So this is the condition of Sheikh Rabi'. Sheikh Rabi', when people would enter the house at this age, the past few years, he would ask, Antum minayn? And then they would say, from Jazair, from Egypt, from wherever. Where are you from? And then he would speak to another person, this and that. A few minutes later, he'll go back to the same people, Antum minayn?
That's Abdulwahid, what he said as well.
Now when you say that, they say, oh, look how he's trying to attack the Sheikh. طيب, they said that for years, that the ones who are saying that Sheikh Rabi' is ill and losing his memory, etc., are only trying to say that to silence the haqq that he spoke regarding Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi. They just don't want that to be true. طيب, an audio was recorded of Abdulwahid al-Madkhali walking with some people who wanted to visit Sheikh Rabi', and they said, we want to have a sit down with Sheikh Rabi'. He's saying to them on audio, and that was all over social media at that time, and it's all over YouTube now, that الشيخ صار ما يفهم، الشيخ صار ما يعرف ما يميز بين الأيام، ما يعرف أيام الموعد، إذا كان عنده موعد ما يعرفها، ما يعرفه. He would say that if he has a doctor's appointment, he doesn't even know. He can't even distinguish between the days of the week. He doesn't know what day it is. Is it Wednesday? Is it Friday? Is it Saturday? It came from the horse's mouth. Now when we say it's ta'an. We say it's ta'an. And he's now using it as an excuse for Sheikh Rabi'. Ba'uka tajur wa ba'una la tajur. Us, when we say it, it's an attack. It has to be an attack. But when they say it, in order to now those who they don't want to enter Sheikh Rabi''s house, they say that, you know.
They're mutaffifin.
And I'll show you the cade of these individuals. All of these individuals who were with the Sa'afiqah, Arafat and them from every country, whether it's the Americans, whether it's the British, whether it's Indonesians, whether it was Moroccans, whether it was from wherever country, if they were with that group and that they would be allowed into Sheikh Rabi''s house, almost every single one of them, without exception, would talk about the memory of Sheikh Rabi'. MashaAllah, he remembered everyone's names. MashaAllah, he mentioned this and he mentioned that. Cade, orchestrated.
Yeah.
Every one of them comes out of the house.
Just like the bayanat were orchestrated. Yeah.
Exactly. All of them exit that house talking about the tremendous health of a man in his 90s, subhanAllah. Yani, it's as if they're trying to tell us the older you get, the more healthy you get. Yani, what do you expect the health of a man in his mid-90s to be in reality? And using your mind logically, right? And that is just an attack. Like that is just an attack. Like
Also,
now,
Akhi, to mention this, some of the big A'immah.
No, I was about that's what I was going to say.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Some of the big A'immah like Sufyan al-Thawri.
No.
You maybe have other examples.
No.
Sufyan al-Thawri rahimahullah ta'ala. Imam min أهل السنة والجماعة. صح. يعني في آخر عمره
No.
اختلط. Yeah. In his latter stages of life, he became senile, I think they call it. صح?
And you see now, but then in general, started to mix things up.
Mix things up,
No.
yeah, subhanAllah. Yani, this is something that's very common for the scholars.
This is the nature of old age. It's common for every human being.
Exactly, everybody.
Now, from the Imam of the past were those who even their children would prevent people coming and taking riwayah, taking the hadith of their father.
It's a natural cause of life.
It's a natural cause of life, exactly. Because they knew that their father reached a stage of ضعف in terms of his memory. So in order to preserve his status as an imam, because we know the ulama of jarh wa ta'deel, that individual, he can be ثقة thabt. And then near that, اختلط في آخر عمره. They didn't want that for their father.
I think that's what they wanted, to tarnish the Sheikh's
100%
image. And there's people behind this.
And so that he dies while having praised them. Sheikh Ubaid died while having praised them. That's it. That is case closed. Sheikh Rabi', if he dies now, case closed. We were the ones he left behind. We're the khulafa of Sheikh Rabi' and Sheikh Ubaid and the like. Now, Abdullah al-Bukhari, they used in this fitna, and Allama Abdullah al-Bukhari, and etc., etc. So where's Abdullah al-Bukhari today? Where's Abdullah al-Bukhari in their da'wah? Where's the mention of Abdullah al-Bukhari? Where's their retweets of him and the translations of his tweets or whatever, or telelinks with him? And how many telelinks do they have? Where are their visits to Abdullah al-Bukhari?
Where's Arafat?
Where's Arafat? Where's all these individuals? Where's Abdullah Rifa'i? Where's Bandar al-Khaybari? Where's Abdul Mu'ti al-Ruhayli? Where's Abdul Wahid al-Madkhali?
In prison.
Abdul Wahid al-Madkhali. Abdul Wahid al-Madkhali, who was the individual at the door. The one who either, if you go in the house, it's due to him allowing you in the house. He would be the one who made sure who entered and who did not enter. And he would question you outside the door. He would question you. What are you here for? What country are you from? Who are you with in that country? Bam, he knows. And then based on that, you either enter or you don't enter. That's how it was.
Wallahi, this is actually first-hand witnesses have mentioned this.
I witnessed.
Yeah,
I'm a first-hand witness.
Exactly, subhanAllah. Muhammad al-Zahir al-Sheikh, Usman al-Mu'allim, Hafidhahumullah. Both of them said that we went to the door of Sheikh Rabi' and we were rejected from entering. And
Sheikh Uthman al-Mu'allim is from the oldest and most senior students of Sheikh Rabi'.
Subhanallah.
Are these people, individuals here now in Birmingham, being asked about Sheikh Uthman? Oh, Allah is not known. He's not known. You're not known, ya Jahil. You're not known. Sheikh Uthman al-Mu'allim, to show you the closeness of Sheikh Rabi'. Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah, when he was sick in Jeddah, and when he was near his deathbed, Sheikh Rabi', who was with him in his last visit to Sheikh Muqbil? Uthman Mu'allim and no one else. Uthman Mu'allim and Sheikh Rabi' drove together to visit Sheikh Muqbil in the last visit of Sheikh Rabi' to Sheikh Muqbil, rahimahullah. To show you the history that the two of them have together. I myself asked Sheikh Rabi' directly in Mecca when he was there. I prayed beside him and asked him, Sheikh, who do you advise with from the Mashaykh of Somal? He said, Uthman Mu'allim and his brothers, those that are with him. طيب, at that time when I mentioned M-pubs, in Trinidad, they used it and spread it all over the dunya, and they started even doing telelinks with Sheikh Uthman al-Mu'allim.
Jazakumullah khair wa barakallahu feekum. So that it doesn't extend and continue, because we can go on maybe 3 or 4, 5 sittings. Last part I just want to literally emphasize on regarding that it's not just an attack on Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi Madkhali, and that they have dropped Sheikh Sulaiman Rahim, for example, and other than him from the
we can mention, to summarize it, we can mention it by countries. We don't even need to mention it by individual names. Who do they take from in Egypt? Not one person, I don't believe. Who do they take from in Algeria? I don't believe one person. Who do they take from in Somalia? I don't believe one person. And they say we're the ones who dropped ulama. The audacity, subhanAllah. Who's becoming your ulama? Look, to show you also that in reality what people don't know, or people don't really know what's happening behind closed doors, is that even these individuals here who propped up the likes of Arafat and these individuals, in reality their relationship is not good.
تحسبهم جميعا
قلوبهم شتى. These individuals were under threat. They knew that they now finally had the upper hand. There were other individuals other than them that were now had that closeness. What they used to do to other Salafis in the West, weaponize the ulama against them, they now found individuals worse than them. Arafat and these individuals who were doing the same to them. To the point where telling them, you have to make your khutbah about this week, or else I'm telling Sheikh Ubaid. The threats, the stuff that they used to do to people, that was being done to them now. And so now they knew that they had to do everything that these individuals were saying and follow them to the T in order to not be dropped by the mashayikh and not get refuted, just like those who came before them. Mashayikh who once upon a time, Ahmed Bazmoon, for example, Shaykhuna Hafidhullah, Allama, Alim in Jarh wa Ta'adid, the most well-known in Manhaj, the closest student to Shaykh Rabi', in a day and a night, gone out of the picture. What happened? Shaykh Ubaid spoke about him. Based on what? Well, I don't know. Go ask Shaykh Ubaid. Yeah, but you took a position. Exactly. And your entire da'wah now, you wiped out Ahmed Bazmoon. You wiped out this one. You wiped out that one. Now, if we look at Medina, who do they take from? In Medina, a scholar. And now don't tell me these students. In Jayzan, who do they take from?
Security guards.
نعم.
Is it Ammār?
نعم والله. Now, there was a brother I had a discussion with one time who asked me, I heard that you say that you shouldn't take from Ahmed al-Zahrani. I said, I'll ask you a question. Before this fitna, did you take from Ahmed al-Zahrani? I said, forget what I say. I'll prove to you your following desires, I said. That you now have no one else left, that's why you're taking from him. You don't need to know what I say or what I don't say. I'm not important. I'm not important. But Ahmed al-Zahrani was known to you before. If you used to go to Sheikh Rabi''s house, and you used to enter Sheikh Rabi''s house, he was the one that allowed you in the house, or drove the Sheikh from the masjid to his house, etc. Aided the Sheikh and this and that. طيب, Ahmed al-Zahrani, when Sheikh Rabi' lived in Mecca, where was his durus? Where was his masjid? Where were his tullab? After this fitna occurred, and he caused separation between Sheikh Rabi' and Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoon, and even Sheikh Wasila Abbas and Sheikh Muhammad Bazmoon and the like, then he now started having some sort of status. Only when Sheikh Rabi' left to Medina did he now start teaching. And who was the majority of those who attended? Sufaha from the West, of course. Sufaha from the West. They left Muhammad Bazmoon. They didn't go to the durus in the Haram. The Kibar, Muhammad Ali Adam, Sheikh Wasila Abbas, right? Sheikh Muhammad Bazmoon, when Sheikh Ahmed used to teach before, the two Ajlans, rahimahumullah, they didn't attend any of these durus, or some of them did and then they stopped, right? And some of them not even because they actually truly believe any of this. They just know that they can't show their face back in the West and from the Marakis that they come from because they attended such and such dars. That's the reality. Allah musta'an. So now, subhanallah, that's what I told that brother. I said, Ahmed al-Zahrani, you yourself didn't take from him before that. What made you take from him now, other than this fitna? Who changed, us or you? And some of them say, you've changed, you guys left the ulama. Who the ulama? Shaykh Rabi' ala ras wal ayn. Sheikh Ubaid, rahimahullah, ala ras wal ayn. All of these ulama are ulama.
We love them.
We love them for the sake of Allah. We love them. We don't have any ta'assub towards them or anything like that. And that is what they taught us. Yani me, when these individuals try to speak to me with regards to this, I say, I follow what Shaykh Rabi' taught me. I don't follow the shakhsiyah of Shaykh Rabi', the person himself. No?
Well, as like Ibn Qayyim mentions, Shaykh al-Islam حبيب إلينا صح والحق أحب إلينا منه.
هذا هو.
Just want to mention a point. Try to shorten it, inshallah, and conclude maybe. In regards to the main goal, in regards to the scholars dying whilst they've praised them, so they can take their positions and rule over the Dawah Salafiyyah. Sayytara. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as for the tazkiyat of the scholars, and tazkiyah is to ascribe piety to someone. Humans are deficient in their knowledge. They may ascribe purity or give a tazkiyah to someone who's worthy and sometimes someone who's not worthy. And this is a mas'ala that occurs. As for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who Allah truly gives tazkiyah to is the one that, meaning that Allah makes him pure, is purified. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in regards to the munafiqeen, أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ يُزَكُّونَ أَنفُسَهُم. Have you not seen those who praise themselves? And you see these people, they already praise that we have been tazkiyat, we've got praise, up until they used dead mashayikh that they warn against, use their tazkiyat. أَلَمْ تَرَ إِلَى الَّذِينَ يُزَكُّونَ أَنفُسَهُم بَلِ اللَّهُ يُزَكِّي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. So subhanallah, you see that these individuals, tazkiyah after tazkiyah, and this without a doubt is a doubt which has been mentioned by the scholars. Abdulhakeem ibn Muljam, sah? He was the man who Umar bin Khattab, who killed Ali ibn Abi Talib. And this individual is a person who Umar bin Khattab gave a tazkiyah. But he said when Ammār ibn al-As was the leader or acquainted as a leader in Masr, Ammār sent a letter to Umar bin Khattab and he said to him, send me those that know the Quran and can teach here, that you can send off to me. He goes, I'm going to choose someone that I've chosen, meaning min nawadir, from the rare of the people I'm choosing. That's a tazkiyah kamil. This Abdulhakeem ibn Muljam, that he was the man who killed Ali ibn Abi Talib. And I'm thinking there's another hadith of the Prophet that ashqal, was it the hadith, that the most wretched, the man that killed the she camel of Thamud, and the one that kills you, Ali. I think that there's a hadith. Correct? Ala kulli hal, and the brothers will correct me, that he came from Masr. And on his way, he brought a sword. Look at this person.
Came from Umar to Masr.
To Iraq, where Ali was. And then he must have brought a sword from a Haddad. And he told the Haddad, or the man who made the sword, or the blacksmith, he told him put poison on the sword. So whoever it hits dies. And then he came into a masjid in Kufa. He came to a masjid in Kufa and he said to them, he saw a woman, a Kharijiyah, that was known to be very beautiful, and many had asked in marriage, but Ali had killed her brother, who had a grudge against Ali. And then he said, Allah Alam, if it was out of coincidence, he said to her, I want to marry you. And then she goes, my mahar is ghali. My mahar is to the death of Ali. And then he said, that's what I'm here for. Allahu Akbar. If Umar, I'm told the moral of the story, or the mawdu' al-shahid is, if a tazkiyah guarantees a person immunity, gives him immunity, then it would have given immunity. It would have gave immunity to Abdulhakeem ibn Muljam, the Umar bin Khattab, who can reach Umar bin Khattab.
Exactly.
La Shaykh Rabi' wa la man ba'dahu min al-bashar. So tazkiyah and that weak shubha that they use, very weak.
The mas'ala of tazkiyah, to go into, maybe we can conclude with this topic, inshallah ta'ala. There's certain مفاهيم خاطئة. There's misunderstandings and misconceptions due to the tarbiyah of these types of individuals that exists amongst some of the Salafis nowadays. One of them is this tazkiyah of that it does not guarantee guidance or guarantee piety for anyone. That the actual thing that we look at is not the individual who made the tazkiyah, but does the tazkiyah actually, is it in agreement with the reality of this person? if the Shaykh gives Tazkiyah, and then we look at it, and yes, what the Shaykh said, we actually find it in the person, then it matters. Yani what is awla? When you take the Tazkiyah of a scholar, and then that you clearly see that it does not apply to this individual, and you just close your eyes and say, but Shaykh Rabi' said, know that you are a Hizbi.
Absolutely.
Know that there is no way you are Salafi. There's no way you are Salafi. Yani because that means you gave taqdeem as if this Shaykh has something. Wallahi, subhanAllah, I remember that there was a sister one time who I have an Arabic institute, and she wanted to register her son for Quran. She herself was a sister who used to study in the institute and benefited in terms of Arabic. And then she said, who from the well-known du'at praise you? Which shocked me because you yourself studied already. So then where was that? Then I said, okay. Then I sent the tazkiyat of Sheikh Adil al-Sayyid and Sheikh Hassan al-Banna for the teachers in the institute. These are Egyptian Salafi students of knowledge who were teaching in the institute.
معروفين.
نعم, معروفين to the mashayikh in Egypt. I said, how would, logically, how would the well-known du'at in the West possibly know them? Like, I want to understand. Do you believe they have knowledge of every individual in the world?
SubhanAllah.
Just logically break it down to me. This question, let's understand it. Who praises them from the well-known du'at in the West? If I go to, subhanAllah, in a village in India and they don't know them, that means they can't be Salafi? Now when continued, as she said, and I don't blame her because this is the tarbiyah that she received. She said, no, I know, but it's that there are many people who portray that they're Salafi, but those who are hiding with the garment of Salafiyyah, this is like almost verbatim Abu Khadija's language, hiding in the cloak of Salafiyyah, but they may mention the same scholars as, they may do this, they may do, the only mukhalafa is what? They oppose us. He won't mention that though. They mention the same scholars as you. They mention the same books as you. So they are Salafis. What's the mukhalafa? They are not with the brothers. Then just say it. You're the haqq. Just say it easy. اختصر لنا. Don't mention all these other points. Just summarize it for us and say, since they're not with us, there's no way they're Salafi. So this sister then said, they clarify for us those hidden in the ranks of the Salafis. I said, so you believe that they have some hidden knowledge that only they know? That they're the only ones who can distinguish?
Who gave them this maqam as well?
Naam. So, and then another thing is, what made you, how do you know that this person was not actually just Salafi and just went astray? How do you know that they are the ones who discovered the hidden Hizbiyah or bid'ah of this person? What if he was actually just Salafi and then actually just went astray? It makes no sense. I said, so now they teach you, I believe, to go back to the kibar. These individuals are in Egypt with those scholars that are from Egypt. And you're telling me now to go back to du'at. Do you see what's wrong with that? I said, can you see what's wrong with that? She said, yeah, I know, I understand, but I don't know. It's above me. And I don't know. I felt sorry for her, to be honest. I felt sorry for her, to be honest. So the mas'ala of tazkiyah was not only, they believe that it's almost guarantees that this person, if he's praised by this person, Shaykh Rabi praises them, that is it, as if it's a stamp for that individual, because they don't understand what a tazkiyah is, even in the time of the Salaf. In jarh wa ta'deel. If ta'deel was given to an individual, regarding an individual, the Salaf knew that ta'deel was of lesser value than jarh. Why? Because ta'deel was the general knowledge of the individual. It wasn't usually with deep knowledge of the individual, as opposed to jarh. Jarh is after bahth and knowing the individual and everything, and you are giving extra knowledge that others don't know. Something that you've come across that others don't know. But the praise, well, everyone who knows him in general and everyone who's met him in general will praise. So that is not hidden. No scholar can praise someone knowing their reality. So now, and that's another thing, can a scholar praise someone, let's say in the West, and then I see what this individual is and I say, I don't accept the tazkiyah of that sheikh? Say, oh, how dare you? Do you believe you're more knowledgeable than that sheikh? Yes, I believe I'm more knowledgeable regarding this person. Not in ilm. In ilm, obviously, there's no comparison. But that's another shubha, that they make the bab of tazkiyah, yani praising the individual, as if it's a bab of ilm, as if it's fiqh or hadith or something, that there's no way that I can ever know something. No, it's bab shahada. This is a bab of testimony. Only the one who knows can speak about that person. And there's another qa'idah in the books of hadith, because these guys love jarh wa ta'deel, mashallah, and tarbiyah, though you can't be Salafi without jarh wa ta'deel. Jarh wa ta'deel is not just one qa'idah. Jarh wa ta'deel, baladiyu rajul adra bihalihi. We are now living in lands where we understand their language, where we know what they're doing, we know their tariq. Who knows more about them? Us or a sheikh who they visit a few times a year? How can they know?
And that they portray a particular...
Yeah, of course. And they portray a certain image when they're there.
Exactly.
Not only that, that sheikh does not understand one word of their da'wah. How can he break up and look into their and find out their faults and what they do? Let alone be here and see what they do day to day and how much they've damaged the da'wah and how they've oppressed Salafis and the like. They don't know. They don't know. And that is why there's an audio I listened to Sheikh Sālih al-Suhaimi years ago, who said that him and Sheikh Rabi', there was an individual in one of those countries that were colonized by Russia, one of those Muslim countries, Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, one of those countries, that there was a student who they knew to be Salafi, and from what they've seen from Salafi in Medina years ago, and they praised them highly. And lo and behold, this individual is from the biggest of Khawarij and Takfiris in his land. And they didn't know. Sheikh Sālih al-Suhaimi saying, me and Sheikh Rabi' used to praise this individual highly, and then we found out later on, years later, that he's a Takfiri Khariji. How come Sheikh Rabi' didn't know? How come Sheikh Rabi' was not aware of what he was doing when he was in that country? That's another mas'ala. The issue of tazkiyah also is there's another ghulu, which is that no one can be taken knowledge from unless they have tazkiyah. And that tazkiyah, they give taqdeem, they give precedence to tazkiyah of a scholar, then to the tazkiyah of the a'mal of the individual and the aqwal of the individual. Sheikh Rabi', if they truly follow him, Sheikh Rabi' taught us that the true tazkiyah of the individual is his aqwal, his af'al, his mawaqif, his actions, his statements, and the positions that he takes. What is he calling to? What is he teaching? What is he warning against? That is more of an accurate tazkiyah for that individual than anything that an alim can say about him. An alim can praise him or criticize him. That is the ijtihad of that scholar. That is what that scholar either was told about that person or thinks based on what they've seen. But what you witness from that individual and what they portray and what they spread of knowledge, whether good or bad, that is what either is a proof of the misguidance of that individual or that he's upon guidance. So the tazkiyah in reality is actions. And not just the statements of scholars. That rather the tazkiyah of the individual, that is what takes precedence over the tazkiyah of the scholar. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.
Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu feekum. Just in summary, inshallah, what would you advise in regards to stay away from these type of fitan? باختصار inshallah. Barakallahu feekum. And I'll give it to Mubārak afterwards as well, inshallah.
Then begin.
Wallahi, ikhwani fillah, I'd advise with that which the mashayikh and our scholars advise with, and that which has been found in the authentic nusus and proofs, and in regards to staying away from fitan and being protected by fitan. Awalan is to be sincere for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, and give precedence to what station you have with Allah, and not what station you have with people, and not to care much about what so and so is going to say about you, or what so that you're going to be left out of a group, or you're going to not please a certain group, and that your main goal is to please Allah Azza wa Jal. And whoever is truly sincere in his intention, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect you from all fitan, as he has said in many verses in the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the shaitan, when he swore by Allah and he said, I'm going to deceive and I'm going to misguide your servants, what did he made an exception, and he said, except for those who are sincere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Surah to Yusuf, when he saved Yusuf from the kaid and the plot of the woman who tried to seduce him and plot against him. He said, إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُخْلَصِينَ. And you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in regards to speaking about the Anbiya, that they were sincere. And also that you stick with the people of knowledge and the kibar al-ulama, and that you learn the religion, learn the Arabic language, and be firm and put your trust in Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will aid you in so, and that you have good thoughts with Allah Azza wa Jal, and also that you don't become disencouraged by this khilafat. And this is something which has been foretold by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there's always going to be khilaf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ, that the people will not cease to be those who are differ, and there's always going to be ikhtilaf. And bal it's going to yakun ashad, the latter times it's going to get worse, and those upon the truth become more strange, and they become strange amongst strangers, and that a person learns the religion, learns the sunnah, so that he can hold on tight to it, and he can distinguish between those who are guided and those who are misguided, and you learn the correct nusus. And knowledge is the key, ikhwan. Knowledge that you apply. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open abwab for you as long as you're sincere in your intention. And there's amrad that fall upon the hearts of the believers, that the shaitan, once he is unable to make those practicing fall into shirk and bid'ah, that he tries to corrupt their intention, whether it be showing off, whether it be ujb and pleased with oneself, or whether it may be hubb al-tara'us, hubb al-ri'asa, that you love, that you become a leader. And as the scholars have mentioned, that آخر ما يخرج من قلب الرجل الرئاسة, that the last thing that is removed or that leaves a person's heart is the love of ri'asa. These amrad al-qulub, especially for the tullab and those of knowledge, that they purify their hearts and the internal diseases that befall them, and that the shaitan uses especially against the student of knowledge who has turned to Allah Azza wa Jal. وبالله التوفيق وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Just to add to that, inshallah, before Ustādh Ilyas gives his last comment as well, that every single one of us should look to our own selves first and foremost. Before you start speaking about Shaykh Fulan al-Allan, that you yourself are a small student of knowledge. Make yourself know that you're first and foremost your muqam. رحم الله امرأ عرف قدر نفسه. May Allah have mercy upon the one who knows his level. صح? If Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala used to call himself a طويل بعلم, يعني a small student of knowledge, then of course us who are insignificant and more inferior than Shaykh al-Albani and the likes of him, those mountains of knowledge, then just know your position. Okay? If a person comes to you doing ta'an of the ulama, doing ta'an of the of coming with fitan and shubahat, say to them, listen, I know my place. Some of the small students of knowledge are on huruf al-hija, alif, ba, and ta, and tha. They're trying to learn at this moment in time. So have that taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whoever has taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will teach them. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Fear Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach you, inshallah. Barakallahu fiikum. We'll pass it on to Ustādh for the final kalima, inshallah.
Bismillah wa salatu wa ala rasulillah. I'll just conclude by mentioning a general advice due to the harms, the great harms that we've seen from this phenomenon, this type of da'wah that is wahshiyah, yani savagery, subhanAllah, and barbaric, that has destroyed communities, that has led people astray in some communities, led people yani out of the fold of Islam, in the hands of the hizbis and the mubtadi'ah, some of them. And because our brothers mentioned the advices in general with regards to what one should do in order to refrain from falling into these fitan. So I wanted to also shed light upon a very important mas'ala, that after hearing all of these things that we mentioned with regards to some of these deviations with regards to the Salafi manhaj, or weaponizing some aspects of the Salafi manhaj but in their incorrect places, that because that exists with certain individuals, that should not then make you now take a new manhaj, a new methodology for yourself, which is whatever they do, I just have to do the opposite. And that is what we found many Salafis now doing, that after they've learned of the extremism of many of these individuals, they have now come with a new methodology, which is, let me just look at who they oppose. If they spoke about this person, I will now go take from that person. If they boycotted this individual, I will now go and befriend that individual. So they've now adopted a new methodology, which is just oppose S-pubs by any means necessary, or oppose whatever they say, and that is incorrect. We also have to be just and not fall into the same injustice that they do. which is that we do not say that they're wrong in everything. We do not say that all of their mawaqif are incorrect. And we do not call to now reviewing the entire minhaj of the Salaf just because now you are traumatized by these individuals, or you may have been harmed by them, or some of their any harm has reached you, that you now adopt this new methodology with is, let me just do whatever, the opposite of whatever they do. No, whatever they are wrong in, oppose them in that. However, whatever they are incorrect in, that you stick to the truth. But the main thing is that why aslan are you looking to see what they're doing or not doing in order to adopt them? Learn the truth. Learn the haqq. Know who the ulama are. Stick to the ulama. I would tell you, if you can learn Arabic and avoid everyone in the West, do so. And that is the best khair and the best advice anyone can give you. That learn the Arabic language for yourself. Take from the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah directly yourself, and then you will see khair. Many of the people who have left this chaotic methodology only did so after they've gone to study, whether it's to Egypt, whether it's to the Mamlaka, to Saudi Arabia, and they got accepted to one of the universities. It is not only after a few months of learning Arabic and now understanding the scholars for themselves and seeing the reality of the scholars in comparison to what they were told that the ulama are like. Shaykh Rabi' people are made to believe that he is some lion and doing nothing but just refuting individuals. And then I'm there with him for 2 years. I didn't hear him mention a name once. Nothing but ilm, other than in specific scenarios where it's a private gathering, whatever the case is. But in terms of durus, then it's durus and it's ilm. And that is what he was busy with majority of the time. And that is what the ulama are busy with majority of the time. And only due to a necessity do they then mention names of individuals or refute them. However, you would be made to believe that that is all that is done, and similarly to what individuals here do. Another thing also, in a line with believing that the correct methodology and wasatiyah now, the balanced methodology now, is just to look at asbabs and oppose them in it. So if asbabs now refuted this individual, that means this individual is correct. That is incorrect. That is not a methodology that the ulama advise with. Rather, look into the affair. If it is correct what has been said about this individual, then you accept it. Not because asbab said it, but because it's the reality. But because it's the reality that this is a danger, this individual is a danger to your deen. So you avoid. Don't have kibr, and don't now have, just because you have hatred for these individuals, that you do not now have justice. That you now choose to oppose the haqq just because you believe you are opposing those individuals. And finally, also to beware of the new manhaj that has risen, the manhaj of tamyi' as a raddat fi'l, as a reaction to the damage that these individuals have done. Many people, not only shabab and youth, who now take it from anyone and everyone. Now that when asbabs would teach people that the manhaj of the Salaf is you don't take from unknown individuals, that you take from those who are known for sunnah, now all of a sudden the shabab believe that this is some sort of ghulu now, that is extremism, right? And that now anyone who's on the internet is somehow Salafi. And now they've adopted these methodologies such as the asl with the individual is that he's Salafi, until you can prove to me that he's an innovator. No, you prove to me that he's Salafi. Prove to me that this individual is Salafi. Just as in the same way that you are cautious to remove someone from Salafiyyah, be cautious to also ascribe Salafiyyah to individuals. You have to be cautious. Both of them are dangerous. And both of them are oppression. Because when you claim someone is Salafi, whether you are a common Muslim or even you are a student of knowledge or someone who has students, you are teaching people, and you start now spreading maqati' of known individuals that are sururis and qutbis, and who are called to thawrat, thawriyun, known thawriyun, calling to revolts and praising revolts, right? Addressing the rulers and speaking directly to the rulers and advising rulers publicly, as if this is the manhaj of the Salaf. You come now and put that individual on your social media or take your groups to go visit individuals like that, claiming that this individual is Salafi. Why? Because asbabs opposes these individuals, so now I have to adopt this new methodology of wasatiyah. This is now the new methodology. The new methodology of being balanced, not too harsh, right? Taking from anyone and everyone. As long as in general the person is upon the sunnah, yeah, what's the problem? Everyone makes mistakes. What's the problem? And the mistakes is in aqidah. When you look at the mistakes, it's the mistakes of the Ikhwan al-Muslimin. It's the praise and kissing the forehead of Abu Saq al-Huwaini. Who has a different, and who doesn't know the reality of Abu Saq al-Huwaini today? Who is a Salafi, right? And praising all the kinds of munharifin. Or that you now you start seeing Salafis, mashallah, putting nasheeds in their maqati'. All these things, this tami' and watering down. Why? As if it's a traumatic response to what they've gone through in terms of harm and the like. Or mixing,
degrees, yeah.
and then mixing with also people of tami' and people who are aslan watered down, or mixing too much with common folk, barely practicing Muslims and the like, and this affects you even as a student of knowledge. So do not adopt this new methodology of, I just must oppose asbabs in these individuals by any means necessary. And also, because they are harsh, now,
the madrasa of Shaykh Rabi'.
And then you start now saying, I don't really take criticisms from this scholar and that scholar because they're from the madrasa of Shaykh Rabi'. MashaAllah. As if this is an ta'an on one of the imams of Sunnah and ulama of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And so we oppose anyone who is upon that methodology, nor do we call to that methodology, nor do we aid and support anyone who is upon that type of methodology, nor does that methodology have anything to do with the manhaj of the Salaf.
And it's literally the opposite side of the coin of extremism. It's just that.
It's just the other extreme. It's just the other extreme.
That can be
Wallahu ta'ala
a'lam. Inshallah, we will have more liqa'at, inshallah, with our beloved Ustādh Sālih, ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him. And also with our brother Ustādh Ammār, inshallah. Hayyakumullah. To the next podcast بإذن الله تعالى. بارك الله فيكم. والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.